I started one of the largest underground steroid operations in U.S. history. When another big supplier would go down, like they got busted, everybody would flood to me.
Yeah.
There was a few weeks where I made $500,000. I didn't know it was going to blow up like this. This got too big. I'm going to get caught. It started when I was 13 years old. I got picked on for being skinny.
Right.
Like and I didn't even think about it until I started getting picked on for it. And then I kind of looked at myself. I said, I am unnaturally skinny.
Right.
So right there, I started lifting weights and I never looked back. I now know I had low testosterone my whole life.
Right.
And just because, now I understand I had all the symptoms. I was, not only did I not mature like my peers, I would put in, when I started working out, I put in a lot of effort, 2 hours a day of working out, and I would get half the results of my peers. Any one of my friends could go to the gym for a month and suddenly be more muscular than me. I also showed other signs of hypogonadism or low testosterone, depression, fatigued all the time. I had to nap every day. I got called a lazy piece of shit by adults because I was just not ambitious. I had to nap. I couldn't grow any facial hair until I started taking testosterone in my 20s. Like, I just didn't mature like my peers, and I could see that there was something going on. Again, consequently, I was depressed. I got walked on. I was a people pleaser. I just wanted everybody to like me, and I was kind of like your typical beta male, right? So in my early 20s, I asked the doctor, I wanted to test my testosterone. There's something wrong here. I'm just not like everybody else.
Right.
And
you've been working out that whole time.
I've been working out hard, like 2 hour days.
So what did the doctor say?
The doctor said,
"You're fine."
He said he wasn't even going to test me. He said he wasn't. There's no way somebody in their early 20s can have low testosterone. We're not going to even test you. So I had to take my health in my own hands. So I got testosterone through one of my buddies.
Went to a guy at the gym.
A guy at the gym. Yeah, I did it. I had to do it through the black market. The medical community wasn't going to help me. I got it from the gym. I don't know for anybody who knows anything. I did a relatively small amount. I did 1 milliliter of Sustanon, which is a testosterone blend, and I did 10 milligrams of D-ball a day. Anybody who knows about this stuff would know what that is.
D-ball was good stuff.
D-ball is fantastic stuff. So when I took this, and I immediately dramatically improved my quality of life to the point where I live two completely different lives, two completely different worlds. The first thing I did is I put on, it shows you how starving I was for androgens or testosterone. I put on 32 pounds of muscle, and I hyper responded, put on 32 pounds of muscle and 100 pounds on my bench press in 5 weeks. 5 weeks. I just blew up. I look like a completely different person. I don't want people to think it's just about the muscle. Muscle is healthy. Like the medical community, the government, and we'll see why. Like it's all engineered, right? Mm-hmm. They believe that building muscle is bad, and you can't take this stuff. We're not allowed to prescribe it so that you can build muscle.
Right.
Right. That's one of the reasons we're not allowed to prescribe it. But building muscle is one of the healthiest things you can do. It reverses metabolic disorder. It reverses insulin resistance. It reverses diabetes. It increases your metabolism and gives your body a reservoir for glucose, so that and that's how you reduce insulin resistance. That's how you reduce your glucose. You're healthier with that, right? But they demonize it. They demonize that aspect of it. So, but I also don't want people to think it's just about building muscle, even though that is healthy. It's also neurology. I was now a different person. I was confident. It turns out I wasn't a lazy piece of shit. I was ambitious and motivated. I'm very ambitious and motivated. I just needed the right amount of testosterone. Suddenly, the way society treated me, this is what I want to highlight. The way society treated me was different. Suddenly, everybody wanted to befriend me. I would walk into a bar and every head would turn. Right? And I never had that before. I would walk through that bar and people would part out of my way.
Right.
It's just a different air, like an air about you, like you're presenting different pheromones, everything, and people notice you. Everybody wanted to be my friend. I had instant respect, and I never had that before.
It's like the confidence of having a girlfriend and not having one. Mm-hmm. Nothing changed. I don't think anything changes about me. But the moment you have a girlfriend, other girls are interested.
Yeah.
The moment you don't have a girlfriend. They don't want to tell you. They can smell the desperation on you, or something like, "Oh, that guy," or something like that. Right. The same thing with a job. If you go get a job working at McDonald's, you can find a better job.
Yeah.
If you have no job, it's pure
You're
desperation
absolutely
looking.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So
yeah.
I always say when people are like, I can't find a job, I'm like, go get a job at McDonald's and
Leverage-
look while you're looking.
Yeah, leverage your current job to find, and with that confidence, I already got something. I don't need this, right?
Right.
And you're absolutely right. It's different. People treat you differently, like when you have that confidence. So, and that's what happened. When I was in college, I was a plumber, and I hated plumbing. I didn't want to be a plumber. I was terrible at the job. And when I suddenly, for no reason other than I stood before him looking stout, my boss gave me a raise when I started testosterone. It's just, I mean, the world treats you differently.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like being a hot chick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody says that life isn't easier for a hot chick, come on, man, stop it. Stop. You're crazy.
My life changes. I had to know what was going on. So I happened to be, I've always been a science guy. I happened to be in school for biochemistry at the time. So I started tailoring my degree to the study of hormones. I took all these classes that were, where am I going to learn about hormones? I started reading voraciously on my own. I couldn't put it down. While most kids my age were coming home playing video games, I couldn't wait to come home and study hormones. I just dove in. I had to know what is going on here. Why do I feel so good? And most of all, why is nobody talking about this? Mm-hmm. So over time, I just understood, and I got better at it and better at understanding it. And then other people came to me and said, "Hey, I see the dramatic improvement that you've made. How did you do that?" And I said, "Well, let me show you." So I just started helping people. So when I help somebody and they show me respect and appreciation and admiration, I get dopamine, and it makes me want to do that again. Let me go help more people,
right?
Because that felt good when I did that. And it just drove a passion, and I couldn't stop. Like I didn't, I finally found my niche, especially when you're in your early 20s, right? Like we don't know what we're doing. We don't understand the economy. We don't understand how the hell to navigate this world and the economy. So when I finally started to find my niche, I can do this. This is something I'm good at. I'm a benefactor. I'm helping people. I just became, passionate about that. So I just kept going. Over time, like I had nailed down supply chains so I could get this all from the black market because no doctor was going to prescribe this stuff to people. This was when I was 23, so this was like 20, over 20 years ago, right? So when testosterone was more stigmatized than it is now. It's getting a little better, but there's still a long way to go. No doctor was going to prescribe this. So I had to nail down supply chains and start helping people. Over time, I said, I got to monetize this because at first I was just helping people for free just because I wanted to.
Right.
But it started, more and more people started to come, and I said, I have to monetize this. It's taking a lot of time. So I started nailing down better supply chains, getting better pricing, and then marking the cost of this stuff up, and then showing people how to use it in the proper way.
Where are you getting this stuff?
So it was just some local guys, right? At first, it was just some local guys.
Are they? I mean, yeah, I understand. At first, it's just they're getting it from Mexico or something.
Yeah, they were. Most of that
them,
stuff back in that time period came from Mexico, and then there was a shift to China.
Okay,
and then that's where I started getting massive amounts of raw powders from China.
Right.
But at this time, it was Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and they would just find different ways to actually. They found different ways to have somebody mail it to them. They'd hide it in like little children's toys and like, or in little like, I don't know, like little treats, and there would be stuff inside the stuffed animals or these little things like that. So they would just find ways to hide it.
And what's actually happening is like you just have like a couple connects at the gym that you're meeting with.
Yeah, and that's how those guys were getting this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So I just had a couple connects at the gym. But what I'd eventually do is like I've always been a social chameleon. So I've always been able to go find my supplier, orchestrate better deals, start talking about, well, let's get volume here. Let's like, give me a break so I can do some things. We'll all make more money. And I've always been good at talking and orchestrating those kind of deals. So I started to kind of do that kind of thing. And then I was just marking these up and selling them. So one day it was just one of my friends came home from college. He went away to college and he just came back from the summer. And he was just like, hey, somebody gave me this email address. I just email this guy in China, and you order it, you send him money, and he sends you the stuff, and it's fantastic. And I was just like, that sounds like weird. Like you just email a guy and just send some guy you don't know money. And he was like, yeah, I'm telling you, it's worked. We've done it a whole bunch of times. Let me try it. So you order something small, right? And then and you get it in. And sure enough, it comes in. And, it was rudimentary back in the day. Like, how the vials come, right?
Yeah.
Like your testosterone vial comes, right? In a stopper and a thing. Back in the day when we first started getting this, it came in a test tube with a cork on top. You just pop the cork off.
It doesn't feel dangerous at all.
You pop the cork off. You'd put the needle in and take it out and inject it. And I'll be goddamned if we didn't get huge. And it was really potent and it was freaking good. So we're like, whatever. Now this Chinese guy professionalized this operation later, so the vials came. But at first, that's what it was. And in retrospect, but at the time, we're just looking for something. Now these prices were much better than my local guys, right? So significantly better, like great prices. So now I have my product cost is low. My revenue goes up. One day, one of my clients says, there's some guys doing this online.
Right.
And if you go to this website and they're doing what you do, but you do it better, you give people much better advice and your prices are lower.
Right.
I think you could do well in there. You should go check it out. So initially I went home and I get on the website and I look at, and I start researching it. I'm like, damn, I can do this. I could undercut these people and like, I know how to use this stuff. Like nobody else really knew how to use it. So I can really help people with information as well as the product.
But this is illegal.
It's all black market. Yeah.
And so
all of it illegal. Yeah.
And is this your full-time gig at this point?
No. So, I was in college.
Oh, okay.
And I just had like a side gig, but I was pretty poor. Like, even though I was hustling some steroids, it was a small city, so I didn't have a bunch of clients.
There's not a ton of money in this. You're marking up a vial $20, and these guys are buying it every 6 weeks or something, right?
Exactly correct.
Like I'm not going to get rich off.
It was even less. It was like every 2 or 3 months they're buying
Yeah.
a vial, and you're right. I might make $50 on a vial.
Yeah, and it's hard to advertise.
Yeah, well, I was a walking advertisement.
Right.
People are like, how do you look like that?
Here's
Let me
my
show
card.
you.
What is this website? Is there any type of cryptic messaging on this website? Or is it just like a website where they're like, hey, I've got this much, XYZ?
No, it's still in existence. It turns out it's the largest steroid source form in the entire world, right? Like millions and millions of unique hits a month. It's one of the most popular, the largest by far. I didn't know this at the time. So I'm researching on this and I'm like, I can do this. Now, I remember the first time I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. So I ordered myself an extra bunch of steroids. I had a duffel bag full of steroids and my laptop. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to launch. And I just went and I posted this menu of my stuff. On the line, I didn't know how to do it. And then the mods came and took it right down and they were like, you can't do it like that. You have to, there's a process. And I didn't know that. You have to become an official source before you can actually advertise stuff. And it's a arduous process. It was like I had to take a whole lot of steps. I had to make my own website. I don't know anything about how to do that, so I had to get help.
Right.
And there was just a lot of steps I had to take. But eventually, I step by step, I did all the things they wanted me to do, and I got this official, what they call a source tag. When you become a source on there, there's still 1,000 other sources. So how do I stick out? And one thing about steroid deals, it doesn't happen so much anymore because testosterone is now very easy to obtain. Right. Back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, it was very difficult to obtain. And there was a lot of fakes. There was a huge fake market. Like most of the stuff you bought was fake because everybody wanted this stuff and it was hard to get. All the bodybuilding forums, the focus was on how do I get real stuff? How do I tell fake stuff? And everybody was really, like bodybuilders would be, if you were a new person that they didn't have branded, that they didn't know, and you tried to sell them steroids, they would get vehement. They would get very angry just for even trying. I don't know who you are and you're going to try to sell me, just because everybody was terrified of getting fakes and a lot of people had gotten fakes before, right? So that's what I dealt with. When I first tried to put tell people, hey, come buy from me, that people are mad.
They don't know you.
They don't know me, and they're angry, and I had to fight through that. So, one of the ways that I did it is, and I was reticent to do this in retrospect, I shouldn't have been, but I just get my product out there. So I picked a few guys that in this community were well respected, and I sent them some free stuff, and I said, review this when you get it and try it, and then you see that it's good.
Right.
And that was the smartest thing I did because that just made the whole thing take off. So eventually these guys take this stuff. They come back to say, you know, I was on this site and just nothing was happening. And then one day, boom, I get these emails. And then I'm like, what happened? Why do I suddenly have like 3 orders?
Right.
And then I went and found it. This guy he got my stuff. He started to see, he goes, this stuff is great. Go here. You know, this is good stuff. So I got the first 3 orders, right? And the total was like a little, like, I don't know, $1,100 or $1,200. But
Right.
I'd never made that much in my life. So I get 3 orders. They actually send me the money. It was just at the time, it was just Western Union.
Right.
And I even had them sent to my name. Like, that's how.
Right.
That's how amateur it was. Just send it right to me in my name, and I'll send you the stuff. And when I picked up that money, I'd never made that much in one day. It was like a huge dope. I felt high, like I was on Molly.
Right.
I'm just like I made like, I don't know, it was probably like $700 in one day, and I'd never made that before. And I just remember being like,
Well, because you're saying 700 because you had to buy. You
Yeah,
still have to
like
your product. You have to
right,
make
I had to
it
buy
and
the
send it.
product.
Yeah.
So it was like I got $1,000, but my profit was like 700.
700, yeah.
But I'd never made that much in one day before. So I was like high, and I was just like this warm feeling, like I was on Molly. I felt like Molly. It was crazy. And I just remember that. And then I'm kind of hooked, right? I'm like, okay.
Do more and more orders start coming in, or
yeah,
do you have to go get more? You're sending out more samples to people.
I didn't have to. So this is what happened. So at this point, now what I want to highlight here is I was at this time. I had addiction issues when I was younger, right? So I got 2 DWIs in like 4 months of each other, and the second one was a felony.
Okay.
So even though I went to college for biochemistry, I have a degree, I can't get a job because I have a felony, a low-level DWI. So I tried everywhere to get a job. The best job I could get was just a lab tech at an emergency room. I made $9 an hour. I made $270 a week. I didn't make much more because as you stated, right, I make an extra $100 like every, extra couple $100 every 3 months.
Right.
So it wasn't a lot. I couldn't afford to survive. The only reason I could afford, I wasn't homeless, is because I lived with my grandmother.
Right.
So I made $270 a week. And that's also why it was just like, so when I got that first $1,000, and I was just like, wow. I instituted some relatively simple good business practices. Steroid dealers are not known to be masters of business administration, right? So they did things the wrong way. They were terrible at customer service. They were, at this time, the Amazon model of shipping had not gotten to the steroid dealers. So they were shipping snail mail. It was taking 2 weeks, even domestically, for everybody to get their package. And I just came in and instituted a few simple things. I'm just going to use priority shipping. It was only, at the time, it was only like $6.
Right.
I was like, what? Why wouldn't I do that? And I just gave free shipping. I just used Amazon's model. I'm going to ship it to you as fast as I can, and I'm going to pay for the shipping. Free shipping. Good customer service. I took care of everybody, and my knowledge. Like, I really coached people on how to do this properly, right? When, especially the shipping, now it seems simple, but nobody else was doing this at the time, especially when people started posting on this site. I got my order in 2 days. I got my order in 3 days. People are like, who's getting your order that?
Right.
And it just flooded. And then when people started asking questions and I'm intelligently answering these things on the forums,
Right.
it just flooded.
Yeah.
Like, this guy knows what he's doing. He can help me through, because I'm having some side effects, right? And nobody else can coach these guys through their side effects, but I could. So it just flooded. So, it just blew up. I was making, again, $270 a week. I was hoping when I started this, that I could make an extra $200 or $300 extra a week.
Right.
Because that would make me a little more comfortable, right? At the time, $600 a week was livable.
Right.
At that time, right? So I was like, if I could do that, it would be perfect. I thought that was overzealous, because how am I going to find enough clients to make $200 or $300 extra a week? It's like, that's a decent amount of clients. How am I going to do that?
Power of the internet, right?
Within 6 months, I was bringing in $21,000 a week.
You're still living at grandma's?
And then
Did you tell Grandma?
I bought the house.
Okay. Grandma, you're going to need to pay me rent.
I bought
now. And we're switching rooms. I get the big room. You're in the basement.
I ended up buying that house and 5 more. But so then it went up 30,000. That was just within the first 6 months. Then 30,000. Then 50,000. Then by the end, the run went for a little over 5 years. By the end, I was doing 100,000 a week on average. There was a few weeks like when another big supplier would go down, like they got busted.
Right.
Everybody would flood to me.
Yeah.
There was a few weeks where I made $500,000 just because it was just that much of a flood, and it was crazy, and it just got crazy.
That's when you decided to start sending people to take out as competition.
Okay.
That was where I was lacking.
We were actually all like, I mean, all the dealers knew each other, not personally, like we
Right.
never met each other, but like we were cordial with each other.
Even better, nobody expects you. Get a couple of Mexicans to scoop them up, throw them in the trunk of a car, drive them around a little bit, soften them up. Todd, you're not in the business anymore.
Yeah. It wasn't that cutthroat. We didn't need to be. So, but like, so some of the interesting parts, like when the first time, this was about 3 months in probably, I had $100,000 cash in my hand, and I never dreamed I would hold $100,000 cash, right? So I got scared. This was like 3 months in. I got scared, and I'm just like, this got too big. I'm gonna get caught. Like this is crazy. I didn't know it was gonna blow up like this. So I actually made a plan to stop, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna fill all the rest of the orders, and I'm gonna tell everybody I'm done. I'm not taking in new orders, because I'm not gonna. The money people have already given me money. I'm not a thief. I'm never gonna just take it and run. So I wanted to fill all those orders, tell everybody I'm done. I can't take any more, and I'm just gonna stop because this is crazy. Like, and I've never been prone to anxiety attacks, but if I ever had one, it was at this time. Right? I remember sitting on my bed with the money all around me. I got my head in my hands, and I'm just like, this is, just got too big. And then what I started to think about was, there's a couple things. One was, I got to go to at the time I probably had 1,000 clients. By the end I had like 20,000, but at this time I probably, maybe 1,000, maybe a little less. I started thinking that, because I got emails every single day, I still do to this day, people thanking me. They thank me for making them a better supporter of their family, a better wife or husband to their spouse, and a better father or mother to their children. Because that's what this does for you. It gets you the energy, the confidence, the ambition to do better in your life, and the neurology to feel better about life. And that translates to how you are with your family, how you are with your friends, how you are just in life. So I got emails every single day of people thanking me. Now I have to go tell these people, hey, I can't help you dramatically improve your quality of life anymore because I'm having a little bit of anxiety right now.
Right.
I just couldn't do that. So I started like, I just can't do that. I like, how am I going to go tell all these people that? And then like what happened? Like all these memes started going through my head. When you like going through like Facebook or Instagram and you see these memes about taking risks, like an eagle flying, or like take risks. You never like all this, like it's just all of these that I've seen just start going through my head, and I'm like, well, this is risky, and if I want success, I got to take risks, right? Like that's what all the memes told me. So I'm just like, fuck this, I can do this, and I just put my head down. I never thought about it again, never thought about quitting again, and I just made it bigger and bigger and bigger. I had to hire people. I had quite an operation. I had to hire people. I hired people in compartmentalized fashion. There's a couple things I did. One was I had to spread it throughout the United States, right? If we were all in one spot and the local cops get wind that something's going on because somebody talked, they could come bust it and the whole thing's done right there, right?
It was like Bozak continually mailing in this little town. He keeps going into the UPS store, mailing stuff to Venezuela, to Canada, to Ukraine, he's mailing stuff, and he's covered in tattoos, and the guy's just like, what are you mailing? Like you're in here every other day mailing like 3 packages. They're all going other places. Like, like that's odd. Like you know what I'm saying? The guy who's taking your order eventually will be like, something's not right here. Like I've been doing this for 10 years. And you're covered in tattoos.
Yeah.
I feel like I should make a phone call. That's exactly how he got busted.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. If these guys are all in one area and all of these are coming out of this one area, then eventually the police.
It just looks fishy.
Well, and even if the FBI or somebody gets wind, then they'll put together a task force and say, okay, well, let's just figure out where these people are, what they're doing.
Well, I mean, even the local cop, like a local cop could just get wind, just like you said.
Yeah.
And they could just go investigate.
Yeah.
And then if they catch wind, the whole thing's done.
Yeah. There was a guy that his whole operation got busted just because a local cop was like, I went to school with this guy.
Yeah.
He's an idiot.
Yeah.
He's got 2 Ferraris now.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. Right. And that was it. They just went and told the FBI, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what he's doing, but something's up. And they were like, we'll look into it.
This isn't a freaking 2 Ferrari kind of
This is not a 2 Ferrari guy.
But you're exactly so. That's exactly what I could foresee, right? So I said I have to spread this throughout the United States. I'm doing 2 things that way. One is the other thing I did was compartmentalize it. So now each person has one job and they don't know the other people. I have a guy in this state. He's a shipper. He doesn't know anybody else in the operation. If he gets busted, he can't snitch if he wants to. Right. And I have a chemist over here that's doing that. I didn't tell you how I started making my own. At this point, I was just buying it and reselling it. But I'll get to that in a second. But I have a chemist over here. I have more shippers. I had 5 shippers. I had 5 chemists. And I had an army of money collectors. Because believe it or not, collecting millions and millions of dollars a year anonymously is very difficult.
Yeah. It's a lot of Western unions, right?
And then I had to get other methods, though. I had to do other things because Western Union, they only let you send, each person send like $20,000 a year. Yeah. Before they flag it. And then I got it, so it was like, I had to come up with other ways to do it. So it was compartmentalized. This means that, again, if somebody gets busted, they can't snitch if they want to, and the operation can continue if one little part gets busted. The second thing it did is now it would have to be federal. Like if local authorities got wind of one operation, they could go. They don't have any jurisdiction to go bust the rest of it. Right. So they can't go out of the state. So that's why spreading it and making sure I have it throughout the country in multiple states was important. So it would have to be federal. It's a little bit more difficult for them to put it all together. Right. So that was the idea. That was the plan. It worked. It was a good in theory. Right. In theory. So let me tell you about making my own products. At this time, I was still reselling, right? So the Chinese supplier that I had, and I kept talking them down on prices because my volume kept going up. So now I've got unheard of prices, right? Also what he did is there was, again, remember I said that steroid dealers need a certain brand because they're worried about those fakes. So there's only certain brands of steroids that people will accept. And if you have anything outside that brand, people are like, no, I'm not taking anything that doesn't look like what I know. It's different nowadays because UGLs, there isn't really fakes anymore because it's so easy just to get the real thing. Right. It's like there's no reason to fake it. And they have all these boards on the internet. It's easy just to go fake, see that. Yeah, if you get provided fake, everybody will talk shit, and then you'll go down, and nobody will buy your shit anymore. Right? So it's just like it just doesn't even make sense to do fakes. It's not really a thing anymore, but it was in the beginning. So they wanted name brand. There was one name brand called British Dragon. Right. And everybody knew British Dragon. Everybody liked British Dragon. British Dragon, the real company, went defunct in like 2008. Okay. And I was doing this around 2010, 11, 12. My Chinese supplier, once they went defunct, just started slapping British Dragon labels on his. Right, because there's nobody to complain. Right, and just calling it British Dragon. Now, some of the well-versed people knew this was happening, but the new stuff was good, and so was the old stuff. So it didn't matter what British Dragon you had; it was all good. Right? So nobody really said anything, and other people didn't. The people who didn't know didn't matter. It didn't matter. It was all good stuff, right? So I got lucky I was in. This guy just started doing that, and now I have a name brand thing that everybody loves. That's quality stuff. It's good, and it's just running rampant. and I was just making so much money. There was a couple months where this guy just disappeared, right? And I'm getting low on product, and he's not there to refill me. And he'd come back, and then I'd order a whole bunch. I'd be like, what happened? Like, sorry, whatever. And I'm like, if this guy disappears, I got all my eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done. I gotta build a redundancy here. I have to have a backup. So I start thinking about other brands, right? And all the other brands were so much more expensive. Anything outside of this one guy that I had really good connections with, it was just more expensive. I'd have to raise my prices. And my thing was I was like the best cost. That was one of the things that was bringing everybody to me. I was one of the lower costs. So I was like, I didn't want to do that. So one of my local people I knew made his own stuff. He learned the recipe on how to make it himself.
Right.
Other people had told me this guy was doing that, and they were like, it looked fishy because he just didn't have it labeled. It looked unprofessional because there's no label on it. He just gave him this vial
with the cork,
with stuff. It didn't have a cork, but it did have the top, but it was just unlabeled.
Yeah.
And he just wrote like test on it, right?
Yeah,
and it was just like, and people were like, it looked fishy, but you know what? It was really good.
Yeah, it looks like this guy made it in a lab in his spare room,
Yeah,
which he did. But it would have looked like it came out of a real manufacturing plant if he just had a professional
If he just had it professionalized.
label.
Exactly. Okay. So I'm like, okay, this guy knows how to do it. And apparently from what I hear, he does it well. He just doesn't have it professionalized, so he can't go anywhere with it. Let me partner with this guy, have him make all this stuff. I'll professionalize it. I'll get it labeled and make it look good. And then we'll have redundancy, right?
Did you have somebody kidnap him, put him in a basement somewhere and chain him up?
I didn't have to.
No. Oh. Okay.
I don't know. It wouldn't have gone there anyway, but I didn't have to. So, but
That's
what
not
I did
Colby,
do,
that's not Colby's model. Colby's model
Colby's
is, so
model
I
is
grab him, put him in a warehouse.
Zip tie. Say, you're going to do this.
Here's your new lab, Todd. So you go and you have a conversation.
I actually grabbed a bunch of the money that of the Western Unions I had collected, right? Because I wanted to show them, like, look, I'm not kidding. Look at this. And then I said, hey, let's go out drinking or whatever. And then we had some drinks, and I just kind of broached this thing because he doesn't know what I was doing. Like I had done a good job of keeping my mouth shut because I knew the local game or local talk was going to get me. That was probably the most dangerous thing I was facing at the time. So I just made sure I didn't say anything, and I didn't even sell my stuff locally anymore.
It's all being mailed anyway.
Yeah, it's all being mailed, and I didn't want people to start talking like, "Oh, this guy's got stuff," because again, the local game. So I stopped the local game. I just didn't do it anymore.
You set up a flower shop, and people thought you sold flowers.
They're like, I sell these flowers.
Ryan, you don't
all the
sell
flowers are wilted.
Who delivered flowers to my girlfriend? I have a guy. So, all right.
So I set it up, and I just started explaining to him what was going on and like the amount of money that was coming in, and then I showed him the money, and he just sat there with his mouth open. He just couldn't believe what he was hearing, like the volume that was happening and the things that were, and he was just like, and I was like, okay, and I offered him more money than he was ever going to make. Right?
Yeah,
like he was going to do well. So he was just like, okay, let's do this. So from then we started making our own. Now, when we made our own, again, remember the brand name. This stuff is, nobody knows this brand. And I came up with a brand. I called it Matrix Labs. You can still look that up today. Matrix Labs Steroids, and all my reviews of this stuff came out. We made it a little strong on purpose, like a little dose strong on purpose, just so it would get a good name, right? But it's not going to hurt you. It's not like, right? Like when they overdose stuff, you want to kill somebody so that everybody wants it. That's not like that with steroids. Right? It's just,
so we put a little just a little,
didn't do that. It's if you just make it a little stronger, then people are like, oh wow, this is really potent. It doesn't hurt you like those drugs, so it wasn't dangerous. But we just made it strong on purpose, and then I put it on my list, this Matrix Labs, next to my British Dragon. And I thought it would take a long time for people to come over because they know the British Dragon, they don't know this. And I was like, I don't know if it will ever sell that well, but And I priced it a little under the British Dragon. And oh, by the way, it's a fourth, a fifth of the cost to make it yourself than it is even for this really good priced British Dragon stuff. So our profit, I could price it lower, and our profit margins are way higher. So it was just win-win. I didn't think people were gonna go over just because of the brand thing. It turns out I was wrong. Everybody immediately went right to the Matrix Labs, and it turns out it was because it wasn't. I was the brand.
Right.
Anything that I had, people trusted me. I was, talking a lot on the website, showing people. They trusted me. So anything I put in front of them, rightfully so, because I tested all these products too. I had like a rigorous testing system, and nobody else in the industry did. Like at the time, there was no place that you could send a lab. Now there's labs. You actually send it to a lab. Mm-hmm. They do a mass spectrometry. They tell you how pure the stuff is and if it has any other particles in it. At this time, there was none of that. So I actually tested using crowdsourcing. I used my audience. I said, hey, I gave people an extra vial, and I said, this is a new batch that we're testing. Take this, get a blood test 3 days later, and send me the blood test. I want to see how high it gets your testosterone level. And I did that with hundreds of people, hundreds of batches. We were the only ones doing any kind of testing at the time. So there was a likely, and then I would narrow down when you start to become big. China, all these Chinese powder sources they want your business because you're spending so much money. So I would just take samples from them all, right? And then I would test all these samples. So we were the only ones doing testing at the time. So it's very likely that we had the most potent, pure stuff in the world at the time. We're the only ones doing, because we had stuff from all over, right? And I got to whittle it down to the 3 best, right? So I had these 3 suppliers that were consistently the best. So that helped. And everybody was talking about how potent and fire, and you can see all the reviews. Everybody's just like, this is that.
Are you still using the Dragon guy, or are you weeding him out?
So get this, like, I didn't expect it to happen. Everybody immediately just started using the Matrix Labs, right? And I didn't, again, that's when I learned, oh my God, I'm the brand. It's not the name on the bottle. I'm telling you, a month, maybe 2, at the most 3 months later, this guy disappears for good.
Right
when I made that change. Like, it was just fortunate. Like, had that happened even 6 months earlier, I would have been done because I didn't have this plan yet, right? It was just crazy fortune. And so the British Dragon disappears. It didn't matter. Everybody was buying the Matrix Labs. And everyone was talking about the Matrix Labs all over the boards, even on other bodybuilding sites. It was just, that was like the talk. Have you tried this Matrix Lab stuff yet? This stuff is fire.
Are any people getting busted that you know of?
No, the government doesn't go after the end users. They only come after
the manufacturers.
They don't care about it. It's a Schedule 3, so it's not like or if you catch somebody with personal use, it's just a low level crime that they won't even do jail time. It's not
right.
It's like they don't.
I'm just saying, like the guys you have the shippers, you have these.
Or any of those guys getting busted.
Yeah,
I thought you meant the users.
Or any other sellers on the side.
Anybody. You're ever getting a phone call or an email from saying, "Hey, did you hear about Johnny? Johnny just got popped. They just raided his house," and anything like that happened where you were like, "Oh, I'm getting nervous."
It really didn't happen with anybody I knew. Once in a while, one of the other sources that was near the top would go down, but it didn't happen very often. And that's when they would rush to me, but that was concerning. Like, you go, well, what happened to this guy? And you'd look into his case. What did he do wrong, right? And but it didn't happen very often. Like, prior to this, there wasn't any task force. There's task force that go after heroin. There's task forces that go after cocaine. There was no task forces that went after steroids until Operation Cyberjuice.
Operation Cyberjuice.
Operation Cyberjuice.
Very creative with
and that's what I got what I got swept up in. But there wasn't anything before that until Operation Cyberjuice. And there hasn't been one since. There was a few things that went wrong, but nothing super serious. Let me tell you about the first serious thing that went wrong. And I have to tell you this story to tell you how it all ended, too. So, remember, I have everything compartmentalized.
Right.
I had a personal assistant because I was just working all the time. And so I had a personal assistant, and she was taking care of just like, whatever I needed to take care of. I had whatever I needed to take care of. And she started to catch wind of something else going on. Like, obviously I didn't tell anybody else what I did, but being my personal assistant, there's just too many things she started putting together.
Yeah. It's difficult to keep somebody, if you're doing something illegal, it's difficult to keep people that are around you all the time from figuring out.
Yeah.
No.
She just put it together.
Yeah.
So she actually asked for, she started to get an idea of what some of those people made. And she says, I want to make that money. I want to do that. And she was good at what she did, and I was like, I didn't want to hold her back. So I had one shipper that was addicted to Adderall. He would be up for 3 days straight, and then sleep, and then just pass out for the 3 days straight, and not send any orders. And plus, the stuff was frying his brain. Like, his job was, I sent the order with the address. Right. Stuff this shit in this box and put that address on it and put it in the fucking mail. And he couldn't do it. He couldn't. Freaking Adderall brain just couldn't do it. So I needed another shipper anyway, someone who wasn't addicted to Adderall. And that was part of my problem, right? Is like I couldn't go on Monster.com or whatever and take resumes and do this. I had to work with the people who were willing to get themselves into
a conspiracy,
a major illegal thing. And so it was slim pickings. So I said, okay, I'll let you become a shipper, and I'll teach you how to do it. Now, so I taught her how to do it, and she did a good job. She did much better than the Adderall had. The problem was that she had picked up too much being my personal assistant. She had just seen other aspects, and she was able to put things together. So it wasn't compartmentalized with her anymore. So
she's got to die.
One day,
so I'm sorry.
So the way I had it is I had chemists making in one state. They'd put all the product in a box. We'd bubble tape it, bubble wrap it, really secure, and ship it to a shipper in another state.
Right.
And one of the mistakes I made
that way they've got 400 vials, and when you get a shipment in for 3 vials, they have it there. You don't have to mail it. You don't have to piecemeal. They already have a supply.
Yeah. Right. So one of the mistakes I made is sending it right to the shipper, because the shipper has a compromised house. They have stuff in their house.
Yeah.
Right? So I sent it right to the shipper. One of these packages, it was actually a series of 3 packages, but one of the vials broke and leaked through the package. Now, to do that, we vacuum sealed it. They must have just thrown this package around.
Yeah, but they're fucking assholes. Fucking Amazon, they're fucking pricks.
Yeah, it must have been bad. So, anyways, it leaked through. Now the post office is allowed to open it to make sure it's nothing hazardous. So they open it, they see $300,000 worth of steroids, and they call the DEA. Now the DEA goes to the house. Now that's the mistake I made. That house had stuff in it. Now they called her and told her, we're going to open this package because it's leaking. And she was like, no, I'll come get it. And they said, no, we're opening it. And so then we had some time to get some of the stuff out of her house. Mm-hmm. I sent somebody else there. This was in New York. I lived in Jersey at the time. I eventually went and I had a penthouse overlooking Manhattan.
Right.
And so I lived on the Jersey side in the greater New York City. It was overlooking Manhattan, but it was on the Hudson River, or on the Jersey side. So I couldn't get there, right? But I sent somebody else there. And those two cleaned out most of the house, but there was still a little bit there by the time the DEA got there. They get there, they find a little bit of stuff. So both of those two got low-level possession felonies, right? You know how they do it, right? They told both of these two that they're going to spend 10 years in jail, and they're going to indict their whole family and everything.
Brian.
So
Brian Root.
The girl just blew it all in.
I have his address. I have the new penthouse.
Here's his number. Yeah. The girl blew it all in because they terrified her. The guy actually just didn't say anything, and I got him a lawyer. And nobody was going to do any jail time. They just got these low-level felonies. What they're what we call them ACDC in New York. It's a conditional discharge.
Right.
Right. If you are good for 6 months, it actually just goes off your record. Nobody was going to spend a day in jail. That was going to be it. But they interrogated her and
Yeah, but she doesn't
scared
know
everybody.
that.
She didn't know any of that.
So she was released?
They were released. Nobody spent a day in jail. Yeah. And they were both released. And I got him a lawyer because he shut up and
Picked her up.
and and
Brought her to the warehouse. Had a talking with her.
I just
You had a
didn't
guy.
talk to her.
You had a guy?
No. I didn't have a guy.
Couple of Mexican guys. The speed bumps, when you go over the speed bumps and you're in the trunk, that's what really softens it up. You gotta soften them up a little, a couple hours, bring them back to the warehouse, little duct tape, a chair, before you even have a conversation. You're driving them around for a little bit. And by that point,
You've been doing these crime podcasts for way too long.
by that point, they're much more susceptible to it.
You're gonna do well in this new podcast, this murder podcast.
Listen, it's so bad. The things that listen, Johnny Mitchell, he has problems. The stuff that he says is like, oh, come on, I can't. Please don't get me canceled, please. I mean, it's not really a thing anymore, but I feel like Johnny Mitchell will bring it back. It's so bad. When we describe the guy in Canada, the Ken and Barbie. Have you done that one yet?
Yeah, I've listened to it.
Listen, like at one point, I'm like, he's like, how'd they put it together that it was the same guy? And I was like, well, he was, because it was one guy, he was a serial rapist. And Johnny Mitchell's sitting there. And he's like, well, how'd they put it together? And I went, well, because he was very derogatory towards the women when he was assaulting them. Mm-hmm. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, he would like talk, really nasty to him. He's like what? I go, like, he'd like, fucking, you love this cock and you'd fucking, oh, this is the best. You're like, tell me you fucking whore. Tell me you love it, you fucking whore. I'm like, and he looked at me, he's like, that doesn't make you a serial killer, does it? He's like, I mean, who hasn't, like, come on. And I'm like, please stop. And he just keeps on. He's like, I mean, like, that's not even that bad, really.
I said that yesterday.
Yeah, he's like, what are you talking about? Like, and I'm like, no, that's about it. And he's like, But listen, the whole time he's doing shit. He's a professional comedian.
Yeah.
It's fucking horrible, bro. I'm just like, fuck, bro. We're trying to get more female subscribers.
Yeah.
And he keeps turning to the camera going, ladies, stay with me. Stay with me.
That's funny.
Oh shit! But anyway, yeah. So okay, so what happened? So you just left her alone? You didn't call her and have a conversation?
No. I was like the lawyer, because I got a lawyer and I got a lawyer for the other guy, and they were just telling us, no, don't talk to her.
You didn't send a guy?
We were being fed information from his lawyer, right? And he was saying, we were just kind of being apprised. So we quit at that time, right? I stopped the whole operation. We quit at that time.
Now you're just hanging out in the penthouse.
Yeah. It was actually terrible because I don't know. Your whole passion, the whole thing that was like all this dopamine for you is just gone suddenly. So it was actually terrible. But
what did people think you were doing for a living?
That is the weird question. Is like my story. At first, when I worked in the emergency room, right? I used to buy pizzas for the whole emergency room, and the price was more than I made in a week.
Right.
So and nobody put that together. Like he just spent more than his entire paycheck on pizzas for all the doctors and nurses. Right. And so I started telling people that I had a personal training business. I didn't know what this was.
Yeah.
And then I had some nurses being, I want to be trained. And I'm like,
I don't do that. What are you talking about?
Oh shit.
Now I got to fucking go hire a trainer.
I really got to start a personal training business. This is terrible.
No, I am a personal trainer. I train Andrew Tate. I'm Andrew Tate's personal trainer. That's what you should have said. I didn't say I don't do it for little people. I have a bunch of big clients.
Yeah. I didn't even think think of that.
You need
I
me.
don't know. Yeah.
You needed
I
me
needed
to come
you.
up with the. I would have had the flower shop storefront, the whole thing. That had a guy selling flowers. He probably might have turned might have turned that
return
into
a profit.
my front is actually making money. So
I didn't. We would have been a good team.
yeah.
So the lawyer that I paid for this guy is feeding us information, and he's saying it doesn't look like the feds are going to pick this up. It wasn't quite big enough for them. So it's just going to die here. Like both of these two got felonies, and that's it.
Yeah.
They don't have any jurisdiction to come get you, Ryan, because you're in a different state. Even though she said my name, but they didn't have any proof. They couldn't come get me. It was just like that's it. So now I talked to the rest of the guys. They don't have any work either, and they're just like, okay, so if that's it, then let's get going. We'll just stay out of New York. And everybody's like, let's start back up. We'll just stay out of New York. No problem. We have operation in many, many other states. Like, okay, is that what everybody wants to do? Okay, let's get going again. So we started back up, and it got bigger and better. And that was it. I didn't hear anything about it. Didn't think much about it.
That guy ended up pleading guilty.
Yeah,
Gets a felony. That's it.
They both. Yeah, he just got a conditional discharge for that, and after 6 months, it was just gone. And he was still.
Oh, okay.
He was one of my chemists, and he was still making stuff.
Right.
He was still working after that. And he even moved out of New York. It turns out that the feds did pick that up. It took them a while, but they did pick it up.
Right.
And it took them like two more years to catch us.
Right.
They had they did 2 years of investigation and surveillance. So I guess I can go there, right? So one morning I'm in my penthouse. I just got back from Vegas. I used to go on these like extravagant Vegas. I'd just take everybody with me. And I would spend like $60,000 on a weekend just on booze.
All right.
Like I would be like, oh man, I spent $60,000 this weekend. People are like, oh no, but did you gamble? What game were you playing? I'm like, nothing. That was all VIP sections and it was all on alcohol. Like so I just get the cabana at a pool party, and then I'd get like the owner's table, like a $16,000 table at night, and we just do that like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I got back from Vegas and I was kind of hurting, right? So I was just kind of laying in bed, and one of the mornings, I heard at 5 a.m, I heard this pound on the door, boom, 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 and my dogs start barking, and my girlfriend at the time gets up, and I'm like, I don't even think it's real. I'm like, was that real? Did I really hear something? What? And I'm slowly kind of getting up. The dogs are out there barking. I'm slowly like putting a shirt on, and I slowly walk out there, and I hear it again, pom, pom, pom. And I walk out there, and my girlfriend at the time is coming back from the door, and she's like, I can't see out the peephole. Somebody must have their finger over it. And I just got mad. I'm just like, I'm going to go show this person. You don't pound at my door at 5 a.m. I'm you're about to see something. I booked for that door. And I'm like, and I grab it and I just rip it open. And there's like 15 DEA agents with guns pointed at my head. And so the guy in front, he's just like sitting there. He goes, okay. And he puts his hand on the door like that. And he just kind of goes, okay. Okay. And that okay was kind of to tell the people behind him, because I don't have any guns.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, it all looks clear. Yeah. And then he's also to me like, okay, we got you. And then this guy tells me who he is. He was the postal inspector who got that package. And he was just a postal inspector. Now, he's not a DEA agent, but they do have a lot of pull.
They're basically like FBI agents. Yeah. They've got guns and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's embarrassing to be arrested by a postal agent, but it doesn't go over well in prison. But like the postman arrested you? Yeah, he had a gun.
Yeah, he had a gun.
It's a real thing, really.
He had 15 DEA agents behind him too. But he was like bragging, like, I'm the one who pushed to get this case picked up. I'm the one who found that first package over 2 years ago. I'm just like, congratulations.
Yeah.
So the cops come in, they handcuff both of us, put us on a chair. And they're like, "Do you know why we're here?" I'm like, "I have no idea why you're here." I knew why they were there.
Right.
And for some reason, I took solace in this. The cops that were there just searching through all this stuff, they stop and they go, "This is a beautiful apartment." It was like floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. Like you could see the Empire State Building, like everything right there. I was like, "Oh, thanks." I know for some reason I took a little solace in that.
Are you also thinking, knowing that half the cops were on steroids, or are you also thinking,
Yeah.
listen, I don't think this is going to be as big of a deal as you guys think.
Yeah.
Well, look at that guy.
I don't know. So, but that was it. I didn't spend the day in. I didn't go to jail that night. Like you know how I just went there and got bonded, and then and then I got out. And then the worst thing was it took 2 years to go through all the proceedings, and I don't know exactly what I'm going to get sentenced. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I couldn't get a job because I'm indicted.
Right.
I know I'm going to prison. I just don't know how long. And it was just the worst time. Like,
seize your bank account?
Yeah, they seized my.
What they grab?
They seized my bank accounts. I was a very bad criminal. I've been picked on this over and over in prison. I had bank accounts in my name, and all of my houses were in my name. So I had 5 houses. They're all in my name.
Are they still in your name or in the Fed's name now?
Oh, but they're in the federal government's name now. Yeah. So they seized everything, and I didn't have much of anything left.
Mm-hmm.
I was a bad criminal. I got picked on a lot about that in prison. Like,
No.
You didn't bury anything? No, I didn't bury anything.
No, I'm the same way. I didn't think I'd get caught. I wasn't doing this because I thought I was going to get caught someday. I mean, at least if you grew up in the hood, going to prison's part of it, so they'll squirrel away some money somewhere. It's like if I didn't think that God was going to be going to prison.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Interesting. Like, there was a part of me that I'm making so much money, right? And I had a brand new Jaguar. I had a penthouse overlooking Manhattan. I had almost unlimited funds. And I just knew that I don't how do I keep this up? Like, to be honest, moving to the New York City area, the greater New York City area, it's easier to hide because there's a lot of
right. You don't stick out.
I didn't stick out as much there. But in Binghamton, I stuck it was I had to hide it. I couldn't get a new car there. But a part of me how can this go on forever? This is crazy. And when you you can kind of tie that with what would make somebody do this, embark on one of these empires, to set up one of these empires and just keep going with it. Mm-hmm. I talked about this with Mike Israetel when I was on his, and he says, I never thought, he goes, I took some of that, but I never thought about selling it. And I was like, well, yeah, Mike, look at your trajectory. You were on your way to a PhD. You were in school, doing well, going to obtain a PhD. You had a bright future. I had a felony on my record. Mm-hmm. I couldn't get a job for shit, which raises my risk tolerance, right? So when we talk, I like to get into the psyche about what makes people start empires, these things where you almost know, how can this last? How can it keep going? A part of me knew, this is gonna end sometime, and it's probably not gonna end well. I was actually doing things to try to transition out of it. So I had 5 houses. I was gonna start building more real estate. I actually started a protein supplement company too, and the hope was eventually I could stop doing this and just do the other businesses.
Right.
And that's the hope. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. I don't know how successful that would have been, but
what was your lawyer telling you after you got arrested? Is he telling you it's not a big deal, or is he telling you, you're fucking doing 10 years? What was the charge?
It was conspiracy to possess and distribute anabolic steroids. And I got a money laundering charge too, which was...
Yeah, I was thinking you're going to definitely get a money laundering charge.
But
that's the serious one.
So here's and you're right, because that extended my maximum time to 20 years. The steroids charge is only 10-year max.
Yeah.
20-year with money laundering. They also added, they were able to add 2.5 years onto my sentence because of the money laundering. Now, the money laundering from United States versus Santos, you're not supposed to be able to attach a money laundering charge to a drug business just for using your money.
Right.
Right? So it's a Supreme Court case. And the Second Circuit is the only circuit that still does it. And I was in the Second Circuit. If I was in a different circuit, I would only got 4 years. Instead, I got sentenced to 78 months, 6.5 years. It's crazy. And I took that to the Supreme Court while I was in prison, too.
And what they felt, they decided not to hear it?
Yeah, you know how it goes.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They don't, they just...
Yeah, people think, oh, well, they're taking it to the Supreme Court. Right, and the Supreme Court can look at the case and go, yeah, we're not going to hear this.
Yeah.
And so, what does that mean? That means they're going to stand. Yes, but there's a Supreme Court case that says they can't do this. I understand.
Yeah.
And they're saying they're going to go ahead and let you do the time. It doesn't seem it's not fair at all.
It doesn't matter how good your case is. Like they just rubber stamp deny through the whole process. If you look at some of the Supreme Court cases that did pass, it is almost unconscionable that it had to even get to the Supreme Court.
Right.
Like some of these are so bad. Like what was one of the big ones we were using at the time? God damn it! There was one where they made a math error in the lower court.
Right.
It was just a math error, and all the people were like, "Oh yeah, we added that stuff wrong," and it added like over 2 years to their sentence because the calculator was wrong.
Right.
That had to go to the Supreme Court. Why couldn't the next appellate court go, oh, it's a math
correct
error.
that.
Correct
Yeah,
that.
correct
They
that.
didn't.
Right.
Because that is the bar. They were using the standard that says it has to be shocking to the conscience. And they were like, 2.5 years isn't shocking to the conscience. Well,
Any
you
additional
tell me
time?
2.5 years in prison isn't shocking to the conscience for a math error?
Right.
Like, they were just, and the Supreme Court finally did come in and say, you're using the standard wrong. Like that.
Right.
Like you have to fix an error that blatant.
Yeah.
But why did I have to get to? So that's what I mean. Like they just rubber stamp deny everything, even no matter how obvious it is. And once in a while, a Supreme Court case will get caught and
Make a correction.
It's absolutely insane. The book The Lawman by who's that? He's a Duke professor. He went for rapping. What's his name?
Oh yeah. He was on 60 Minutes. And
Yeah.
He was locked up. He was
He was a bank robber.
Yeah, he was a bank robber.
And now he's got a law degree and he's a professor in Duke.
Yeah, he's in trouble again.
Is he really?
He got rearrested for domestic abuse.
Sean Hopwood?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Slapped his
that's
wife.
it.
Slapped his wife around.
In
several
2024, Georgetown law professor
Yeah,
Sean
Georgetown,
Hoffman, who
not
spent
Duke.
11 years in prison, ex-bank robber, now
Yeah.
Georgetown law professor, charged with felonies and domestic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Business.
Yeah.
It's too bad too because it was such an amazing story.
It
to
is.
Turn around and then he gets out. And he's slapping his wife around.
Yeah. While he was in prison, so I became the jailhouse lawyer when I was in prison too, because I was taking my own case, and then I started helping people around me because I started to understand the law.
Right.
And then I just worked on the law like 4 hours a day. It's one of the things I did when I was in there. So I wrote so many motions to the court, habeas corpus petitions, just helping people. And it got me well respected while I was in prison. It's one of the things I did to be respected while I was in prison. A lot of people think like you go into prison to get respected, you got to go beat somebody up, and that's actually that's a terrible way to do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say the guys that are doing law work can weigh 120 pounds,
Yeah.
and the other guys are like, oh, I'm gonna go fucking talk to that motherfucker. Hey, no, you're not.
Yeah.
He's doing Tommy's fucking law work
Yeah.
and his, and I got a fucking thing for he's gonna fight my divorce
That's it.
as soon as this is over. You ain't touching him.
So how do you get respect? Be valuable.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Pete,
right.
That's funny. Pete started doing law work because he was just a skinny kid that had no gang affiliation, and he said, but I knew I was smart, and I knew, he said, I need to make myself valuable. He said, so I started doing law work.
Yep. And you just help everybody around you. And I just do it for free. I didn't charge anybody, and everybody liked me. It's a good way to do your prison time.
Yeah. Oh, and it passes the time too.
Yeah,
right.
I was doing it for 4 hours a day. Like, and I learned a lot about the law. I learned how to read statutes. Like, I learned so. But you also learn how fucked up the system is. So Sean Hopwood said this, and I found the same thing to be true because I did so much law work too. But Sean Hopwood, in his book The Lawman, said that that the majority of the people in prison have more time, are sentenced to more time than they actually should have gotten. the prosecutor just throws everything they can at you.
Yeah.
And then it's your defense counsel's job to come in and sift through it and make sure what sticks is what should stick. And they're terrible. They don't have time. They don't do that. They don't go through your case. My lawyer was, I paid for my lawyer, and he was just terrible. Like, it was bad how he didn't go through any of the information. And he just let the judge send me to more time than he should have without one objection, without any. It was just terrible.
Well, the problem is what people think, because the Constitution says that you have the right to an attorney. It doesn't say they have to be a competent attorney.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And people are like, well, that doesn't make sense. It does. I understand, but that's people, I have a constitutional right to, and you got one.
Yeah.
You got an attorney.
I did 2255s for a person who paid $1 million for the lawyer, and it was pathetic. Like, they just cursory understanding of what actually happened in that case, and I could pull things out and was like, wow, they screwed this up bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I pulled all the things out and showed it to the guy who paid $1 million for that lawyer. And I mean, you can just imagine, like.
And I know a guy that during the entire process, his lawyer kept saying, well, I'm going to argue this in front of the judge. I'm going to argue in front of the judge. I'm going to argue in front of the judge. Don't worry. Listen, I know the judge. I play golf with the judge. I know him.
Yeah.
They always say that. And don't worry. The guy paid him like $200,000, $300,000 to plead guilty. And his PSI comes back. It's like 20 years. And he's like, I know that. I know. But don't worry. This doesn't apply. This doesn't apply. I'm going to argue in front of the judge. Didn't even do an argument where they go to the prosecution or to the to the probation officer that prepared the PSI, right? He didn't even try, you know how they'll do objections and try and work it out before it gets in front of the judge? Mm-hmm. We're going to do this in front of the judge. I'm good with the judge. I know. Gets in front of the judge, makes a half-assed argument in front of the judge. He gets 20 years and turns around and says, and then he's like, we're going to appeal this. We're going to appeal this. Never answered his phone call again.
My God.
Never. He's like, afterwards, looking at it, I realized there were so many times when I was like, well, no, that's not what happened. This is what happened. He's like, oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. He's like, I realized that he never did anything.
Yeah.
He took the $200,000.
Yeah.
He kept saying in front of the judge, in front of the judge, in front of the judge, got up, made a half-assed fucking argument in front of the judge. The judge was like, yeah, I disagree. And just every like 4 enhancements, 5 enhancements, all the enhancements, he fucking lost the argument. No, under, Johnson versus the United States, or it didn't have any case law, nothing. Just said, Your Honor, this doesn't seem fair. That's ridiculous. I mean, it was like a complete, like, what the fuck are you whining? I can whine.
Yeah, nothing
you need
prepared.
Case law, right? Nothing prepared. And knowing, you understand, we're waiting for the judge because the moment I make these arguments and the judge overrules me, I don't ever have to deal with you again.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll file a 2255, which I already know will get denied.
It would get denied anyway.
So I just need to make this $200,000, and the least amount of time that I spend looking into your case, the more money I make. Right? Because if I put a bunch of time into it, I'm eating up the time I can be hustling to get more people.
That is the typical experience. What you just explained, and this is what people don't understand, is that's the experience that you get, and consequently, people are saddled with more enhancements and more charges than they actually should have gotten.
Right.
Because their defense counsels are actually ineffective.
Yeah.
And probably my assumption is about 90% of the people have more time than they should have gotten. 90% throughout the entire prison system.
Right.
And that's what Sean Hopwood said too. In his book, he said that he found people with decades more time than they should have gotten. And Sean Hopwood had 2 sentences argued and one in front of the Supreme Court that he wrote. And that's why his story was incredible. He ended up with 3 Supreme Court cases. So interestingly enough, I was in Otisville with Michael Cohen, when he was there. He got flown in, or the helicopters were flying above when he got dropped off. I was there with Mike Sorrentino, The Situation from Jersey Shore.
Not paying his taxes.
Yeah. He was good. Him and I worked out together. What was interesting is for some reason, they were doing Jersey Shore, old Jersey Shore episodes on MTV while we were there. He was giving us behind the scenes. He was like, it didn't happen that way. And he was giving us like these behind the scenes things. It was actually really interesting. It was really funny. I don't know. They happened to be playing these old Jersey Shore. So we were just watching it with him and just being like, why did you do that? He's like, no, I wasn't like that.
I never know that guy. They made us shoot that scene twice or 3 times.
That's
or
what
whatever.
he said. A lot of it. Is
Oh yeah, it
orchestrated.
seems. Yeah, it's or a lot of it's orchestrated, right? That's what I always hear about the. So.
And I was
Who's
there
the
with
mentor?
you know who else I was there. So I met you know who else was there. The Firefest, Billy McFarland.
Oh,
he was interesting.
McFarland, yeah, yeah. Not Firefest. It's Fire. What was it called? Was
Fire, FYRE.
It was Firefest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Fire Festival.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then I think he tried to do it again,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
then,
He ran.
He was going to do a part 2. Yeah.
No. I mean, I think he did a.
Oh, yeah.
He.
While he was indicted, he ran another fraud.
Right. No, I'm saying since he got out, he started another one.
Another fraud?
No, it was not a fraud. I don't think the second one was a fraud. He did another. What do you call that when you get a bunch of bands together?
Oh,
yeah.
he always wanted to do Firefest 2 and make it
Legit.
Do it right. To be honest with you, he was on the road to having it all set up.
Right.
It was just at the end it crumbled, and instead of postponing it and saying I need more time to put this together, he just tried to launch it, and it was too early. And
Yeah. Figured he'd figure it out. He'd fix the problems along the way.
Yeah.
He just ran out of money.
he really needed to postpone it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, so what? I got a mentor, right? So
Who's that? Is that a program or is that a guy in there?
a guy in there, a really wealthy guy in there who just I became friends with.
So he ran successful businesses that
Yeah.
eventually led to federal prison. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So sounds like the right guy.
I
hired the wrong guy to do my taxes.
So for instance, right? There are plenty of people, especially if you have a big name, that shouldn't have gone to prison. That were in prison. Martha Stewart's a great example.
Right.
Martha Stewart was originally accused of insider trading, right? She was never convicted of insider trading because she didn't insider trade.
Right.
She was convicted of lying to the feds.
Yes.
Because when they interrogated her, she got scared and told a couple of things because she was just scared.
Yeah.
They got her for lying to the feds. That's what she went to prison for. She never was insider trading. Right?
Yeah.
So she shouldn't have gone to prison. She went for 6 months. She shouldn't have gone. She went to prison because she's Martha Stewart. Her name's Martha Stewart.
Right.
That's what happened to this guy. This guy was very wealthy, and the prosecutor ends up looking good because you prosecute this wealthy guy.
Yeah, he gets his name in the papers. It's huge.
He actually got
promoted
after his case. Yeah, and the defense counsel even looks good because we defended this guy, and look, we got him this deal where he only had to do like 3 years, and his sentence could have been up to this much, right? The defense counsel works with the prosecutor. It makes everybody look good except for the guy who had to actually go to prison, who never should have gotten to prison. He did break a regulation that he didn't realize was a regulation, but normally if it was a normal person, it would have been a civil fine. They say, hey, you broke this regulation, here's a fine, don't do that again. That's how it works with everybody, unless you're very wealthy, you've been on TV before, then the prosecutor turns it criminal so that they can get a big name for themselves, right? That's the situation I was dealing with a guy who was in that situation, right? He actually is a very good businessman, a very good guy.
Okay.
Nobody actually lost any money in his case. It was all potential loss.
Right.
That's what big fraud cases are, potential loss. And nobody actually lost any money. So anyways, but that's the guy, and he's brilliant, and we wrote a business plan together. And when I got out, I executed on that business plan. And it just went for a legitimate HRT, TRT clinic. And so now I own. It's it's executed very well, and it's growing one of the fastest growing companies. GoH4M.com. You use our company, right? Mm-hmm. We're growing. We're getting better. We're getting a lot of technology, health tech in, So what did my experience get me? Well, so I firsthand, not only did I research and study, but I guided most of these. I had like over 20,000 clients I guided most of them through the process. Like that's what I did all day. I worked with the customers. People would ask me questions. I would help them. I saw how different things, I looked at blood work. I saw how different things affected different people. And that's where you really understand that everybody's vastly different. And it's not about a specific protocol. It's about developing a methodology to figure out what yields the best results for each individual. Everybody's different, right? So you see how people react, you make adjustments, you do things that you see percentages of populations. This works for most of the percentage of population. If that doesn't work, then this thing will work. And you just kind of, it's a game of nuance, right? And adjustments. So, but I learned that through tons of experience in this black market, right? So again, testosterone is stigmatized in the medical community. Doctors don't use it. They're scared of it. They don't learn about it. Ignorance breeds fear. So they don't learn about it and they don't have any experience. So I just know how to use this. I've aggregated more empirical data than just about anybody else in the country because of this unique history that I have with it. So, one of our things is that we vet the providers that we use. And I just make sure that we share the same vision on how hormone replacement therapy should be done, with long-term health and safety in mind, right? So we just kind of pick the providers that share my vision, and everything's going really well. What I wanted to highlight here is what I learned when I came into the medical community. So again, the first thing I want to do is explain how beneficial testosterone is. Testosterone is a foundational metabolic and neurological signal. It's foundationally metabolic because it does build muscle mass. Building muscle mass, it takes a lot of energy to build and maintain muscle mass. Building muscle mass is very, very good for you. What's her name? Dr. Gabrielle Lyons made her whole career about how important muscle mass is, especially for females, right? So building that muscle mass increases metabolism. It gives you a reservoir for glucose, so you reverse insulin sensitivity, you reverse diabetes. This is all what testosterone does. Reverses diabetes. It takes away most of the causes of cardiovascular disease, right? It reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease. There's study after study that show that. It's also a foundational neurologic hormone. Testosterone increases what we call tyrosine hydroxylase, which is the rate-limiting step to create catecholamines. Dopamine is a catecholamine. It's the rate-limiting step to naturally create dopamine in a natural way, right? So the intensity of your phasic spikes of dopamine are controlled by testosterone. So if you have a higher baseline testosterone, your body builds inside your brains, the nucleus accumbens, the preoptic area, ventral tegmental area. These areas are where dopamine spikes give us the feelings that we associate with dopamine: excitement, motivation, ambition, energy, sense of well-being, libido. So when certain things happen, your body releases a spike in dopamine in these areas of the brain, and that's when you get horny, or that's when you're really ambitious. So I want to get this thing done, or I'm really confident, so I just feel good and I'm on top of the world. When certain things happen, when you win a competition, right, that you get spikes of dopamine. Your testosterone baseline level controls the size of that spike. If you have a high baseline, that spikes will be bigger. You'll be hornier, more excited, more ambitious, more motivated. If you have a low baseline testosterone, those spikes are just tiny, and you hardly feel
Those kind of depression.
Yeah, and then you're depressed,
Yeah.
right? You hardly feel excitement. You hardly feel joy. It's the opposite. You feel depressed, right? Because you don't have enough of that neurotransmitter. Estradiol, testosterone converts to estradiol in the male body. Men need estradiol just as much as they need testosterone. Females need testosterone. It's their most dominant sex steroid. That's another myth that we've been taught, is that testosterone is a male hormone, estrogen is a female hormone. Females need testosterone just as much as males. It's their most dominant sex steroid. They have 10 times more testosterone than they have estrogen. It's just as important for females. Now, just because we have different amounts doesn't mean it's not just as important for females, right? So testosterone converts to estradiol. Estradiol builds the dendritic spines for dopamine reception. You need estradiol or you don't even feel the dopamine, right? It builds the receptors. Estradiol controls the intensity of phasic spikes of serotonin. Just like testosterone builds dopamine, estradiol builds serotonin. remember I said dose response, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. You need a healthy balance of all of these in order to feel, it controls your mood, your emotion, in order to feel your best and feel great mood, great emotion.
Right.
Right? You need all of those. The problem is both testosterone and estradiol also build receptors for oxytocin. So now you're getting this natural benefit from these neurological signals, foundational neurological signals that build these neurotransmitters. They make you feel good, they give you good mood, good emotion. The problem with when you go to a doctor and say, hey, I'm just tired all the time.
Right.
They give you an SSRI. That's serotonin reuptake inhibitor. It just gives you some serotonin. All serotonin does is make you feel placated, passive. You accept your current situation.
Right.
Which is zombie-like, right? Dopamine makes you want to change your situation so that it's better, so that you enjoy your situation. So you need that dopaminergic along with serotonin. I need to be motivated to change my situation so that things are better, and then I need to enjoy my situation with serotonin. You need all the neurotransmitters to have the right feel. Just giving somebody an SSRI is just a terrible way to do it. Every single depressive disorder, the frontline treatment should be hormone replacement therapy. If you are depressed, it's the first thing we should look at is that your hormones are not in order, right? If you're having anxiety.
Was that required? Just a blood test?
Yeah, just to see your hormones,
Yeah.
and then see how low they are, and then try hormone replacement therapy first. And if those don't work, then we can try some of the antipsychotics or the SSRIs or that. That should be secondary to hormones, which naturally build the right balance of all your neurotransmitters, right?
So why don't they do that?
Because that's exactly right. So the other thing is, let me just go on one more thing. Testosterone controls immunology. A lot of you and I were discussing this before the show. A lot of people's, as you get older, you have cell senescence. Your cells actually start failing, and when they start failing, environmental toxins, especially insulin resistance, you get these toxins inside the cells, and then your immune system starts attacking them. They swell up. This is when people say, hey, I have inflammation. You have systemic inflammation. You probably hear that. What does that mean? It means that your body's actually attacking your own cells. They're swelling up, and then they don't function properly. Every cell in your body has a function for the greater body. It produces a peptide or a protein that has a function for the greater body. If your cells aren't working properly, then your body is underworked, and some of the results, depending on what it is, can result in this chronic bone-crushing fatigue, right? So that's a lot of time what it is. Testosterone reduces that inflammation, gets your cells in repair mode, and all your cells start functioning better. That's part of the reason you also get energy when you take testosterone, is because it's turning the inflammation off, repairing all your cells, right? If testosterone is so beneficial, why is it so stigmatized? Putting that aside for now, let's talk about like psyops and how these different institutions, kind of lobby groups, pharmaceutical industry, and the government kind of run these psyops in order to kind of control how people think about certain things, right? So first, let's talk about the pharmaceutical companies, right? Pharmaceutical companies, obviously, they have money. They can control whatever they want with the amount of money that they have. Congress, we know it's absolutely proven that most of the congressmen take money from
Pharmaceutical, big pharma.
Yeah. This, obviously, so if they kind of do the drug companies bidding, then they'll get more money. There is just
More election, they get elected.
Yeah,
They get to stay in power.
they get exactly. So it's pretty easy to do to get Congress to do what the drug companies not. So now Congress also controls government institutions like the FDA and DEA, right? So now Congress can make a rule. They can get DEA to execute and enforce that rule, right? So let's take making testosterone a controlled substance. They can make testosterone a controlled substance. Now they can get the DEA to go in and just arrest anybody who's not doing exactly the right thing. When you control a substance, it also makes providers scared. this is illegal. It's an illegal substance. Like, I don't want to use it. No, everybody's scared to use it. The FDA as well. So the FDA, peptides, you hear a lot about peptides, right? So peptides are in a gray category. So, and recently, the FDA put peptides into a different category so that they're not as available. They can't be made in compounding pharmacies. That's why you have to go to these almost black, they call them gray market Chinese peptides, because they're not available anywhere else. And the FDA can make a rule like that. Now the DEA can enforce on that rule. They can come in and start arresting people and enforce on that rule, and send all these peptide companies these notices that, hey, if you don't stop this, we're going to come arrest you all, right?
Right.
And so they can enforce suppressing all of these things through Congress all the way down through these different branches of government. HGH is another thing. HGH is a massively beneficial compound. The FDA put it into a category so high that it's basically like a controlled substance. You're not supposed to be able to control a substance without it being voted on by an elected body. The FDA is not elected. They're appointed. They kind of broke the Constitution by putting this into such a high category. It's basically controlled without an elected body doing anything about it, right? So it's like they can kind of push the boundaries, right?
Right.
So FDA. The FDA, when you look at the FDA, 90% of the FDA, the heads of the FDA commissioner, go on, after they're done with the FDA, they go on to work prestigious positions at drug companies.
Yeah.
90% are all at the top of administrative, cushy positions at drug companies. If you're an FDA commissioner and you play ball with the drug companies, you know that you're going to go and be wealthy and the rest of your life's going to be taken care of.
Right.
So they will just push whatever agenda the drug companies want. So let's go to medical schools. This is where our providers are taught. Drug companies, 80% of the heads of medical schools, this is the heads of the department, have some financial tie to drug companies. Mm-hmm. They give them speaking engagements. They give them consulting positions. They give them other just paid engagements. They pick the curriculums. Yeah. The drug companies have say in what you learn. They only teach them about the drugs that make them the most money, right? Testosterone is, the patent's up. You can't patent a natural hormone. The patent's up. They don't make much money on testosterone. Testosterone gets people off of blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications, SSRIs, the depression medications. It gets people off of even opioids because it's systemically anti-inflammatory, reverses diabetes, reverses metabolic syndrome, reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease. Study after study show all these benefits.
What was it? The Scheckler family who started the oxy epidemic. They actually had funded a textbook, and then they were then providing it to and getting the head of the curriculum in multiple medical universities to take their textbook that talked about all the benefits of oxycodone. So that was one more. So the new branch of doctors coming into the market the industry, medical industry, had been being taught by this book that was funded by them to talk about the benefits of opiates.
Exactly.
Which they pushed.
They control the education. And then the providers prescribe whatever they're taught in those books. Right. Right. So, I mean, that's another example of it. Now, the Scheckler family, culpable state of mind. They knew it was dangerous. Yeah. They covered up and taught differently. Right. Nobody went to jail. They had to pay billions and billions of dollars, but nobody went to prison. Yeah. Right? So,
but even the money that they paid was not didn't scratch the surface of what they made.
Right.
And I was gonna say
they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, and they were pushing you take one pill every 12 hours, and when everybody started complaining, one pill it's wearing off within 5 or 6 hours. I need another pill. They were going to and the doctors were talking to their the contacts that were pushing the medication, the 2 pills a day, every 12 hours. They said, so okay, look, we're going to start prescribe. I'm going to prescribe less and break the break the pills in half, take it every 6 days. They said, no. Problem is they're not building up enough of it in their system. They need to take double.
Oh my God.
Once a day. So prescribe them, take them from the 40s to the 80s. That's what you need. So prescribe more.
Oh my God.
And of course now these people are full-blown addicts.
Full-blown addicts. Yeah.
Instead of saying, hey, why don't we just break this pill in half and take it every 6 hours, or like no, because all of that was done simply because of they liked the marketing of one pill every, you take one pill in the morning, one pill at night. Like they liked it because the marketing was better. 2 pills a day was better than 4 pills a day.
Yeah.
That's it? That's the marketing? Like that, because the marketing doesn't sound, you don't want to tell people take 4 pills a day. You think that's it? Yeah, that's it.
Whatever, because like the drug companies also assume people are stupid and that they can only conform to very simple instructions. And you're right, it's just easier to say 2 pills a day instead of you have to take this 4 a day.
Well, listen, my dad started smoking cigarettes when he was 13 years old. He said because they were commercials, they were cartoon commercials where they were telling people that smoking cigarettes was good for your lungs.
Yeah.
And he could walk up and buy cigarettes. He's smoking. He's 13 years old. He's smoking cigarettes. They're selling them to him.
Yeah.
And there's commercials on TV. Fucking insane.
So when you first started testosterone, didn't you say you were taking like 1 injection? Was it 1 a week?
Yeah, I was taking 1 a week.
Yeah.
And it was okay for a while, and then my nose started turning red. Yeah. I was getting red here, and my nose was turning red.
But the Endocrine Society labels it as you actually take 1 every 2 weeks. You take a big injection 1 every 2 weeks, kind of like you were saying with the pills.
Yeah.
And the half-life runs out, and then you crashed, right? So your testosterone level goes up here, you have side effects, and then you crash and you have this lower than when you started testosterone because your body shuts off its endogenous production. And then you're worse. You actually feel worse. But they still stick with the once every 2 weeks or even once a month. It's just a terrible protocol. So what I do, I said, no, increase your injection frequency. It brings the spikes down. You won't have those side effects, and you'll stabilize your levels and feel better more consistently, right?
Yeah,
and
but I was still, I was going to say, you didn't tell me to take more. You just said take the same dosage.
Take the same dose.
In 2 different things. Yeah. And then what the doctor said to me when I went and I complained to the doctor, I'm taking testosterone, here's what's going on. And she went, okay, this doctor, by the way, is terrified of me. Because I'd been taking, it's on the tip of my tongue. Basically, they call it the limitless drug. And I was taking it, and it makes you really focused, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I need a prescription for this. And I gave it to her. This is the first time I went in, and she was like, oh, and I was taking, what are the dick pills? Not
Tadalafil, Cialis.
Cialis. So I was taking Cialis, and I'm taking this. I said, I'm taking this and taking that. And she goes, well, who prescribed these? I said, well, I'm not prescribed. I said, I know a guy. Mm-hmm. And she is like, what do you mean? And I go, I know a guy. And she goes, where did you meet this guy? I went, oh. I said, I met him in prison. I was in prison, federal prison. I met him in prison. She's like, what were you in prison for? And I told her. And then she goes, what was he in prison for? I said, for mislabeling. He was selling medication, but he wasn't improper labeling of medication. It's irrelevant. I said, but he prescribed me this. And I said, and this. I said, but I'm tired of getting it from him. And I said, I'd rather just get a prescription. Mm-hmm. And she was like, you don't know what's in this. I said, he gets it from China. She said, you don't know what's in it. And I go, it's fine. It works. Listen, I'm not here to complain about the medication. I'm saying it's all working. And she's like, you're supposed to take a sleep whatever for this medication, the sleep test. Or she goes, this is for shift work. And I went,
oh, it was modafinil.
Modafinil.
Yeah.
Modafinil. Yeah. And I said, she goes, do you have a night job? I said, no. I said, I just need to be able to concentrate.
Yeah, it's a dopamine reuptake.
Yeah, I said, it helps. And she went, I can't prescribe you this unless you take I have to order the sleep such and such first. If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. When you're not resting well, everything else feels harder. Your focus, your mood, even your recovery. GhostBed is here to help you fix that. They've spent decades perfecting how to build a bed that's comfortable, durable, and designed to actually help you rest. Every GhostBed mattress features premier materials, proven cooling technology, and their exclusive ProCore layer, a targeted support system that reinforces the center of the mattress where the body is heaviest. It helps keep your spine aligned and your back supported, so you can wake up ready for anything 2026 throws at you. Each mattress comes with a 101 night sleep trial and a 20 to 25 year warranty, so you can try it risk-free, knowing it's built to last. Shipping is fast and free. Most orders arrive in 2 to 5 days. GhostBed has great prices to begin with, up to 50% off comparable brands. And Inside True Crime listeners can get an extra 10% off site-wide for a limited time. Just go to ghostbed.com/Cox and use promo code Cox at checkout. That's ghostbed.com/Cox, promo code Cox. Upgrade your sleep with GhostBed, the makers of the coolest bed in the world. Some exclusions apply. See site for details. But I was like, I'm not doing all that. I'll call the guy. Never
I'll
mind.
just get it from the
Yeah.
guy.
And she goes, and
But
what's
I
the
mean,
Cialis?
but that's what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, what's with the Cialis? I said, yeah. I Cialis. I said, I can't always get in touch with this guy. She says, well, how are you? I said, and it's liquid. She says, they don't make a liquid version. I said, they do if you get it from China.
If you get it from the guy.
Right. I said, the guy. And she goes, and so she's terrified of me. So then I come back to her and I tell her, hey, listen, I said, I'm on TRT. She goes, we didn't prescribe you testosterone. I went, no, I
got another guy.
I know a guy. I said, I know a guy. And she went, who is this? Did you meet this guy in prison? I said, no, I met him after he got out of prison. That's irrelevant. And she's just like, listen, here, she did tell me, she said, you were one of my more interesting patients, by the way. She said, so anyway, she told me, she's the one who said, okay, well, look, I need to take your blood. I said, okay. So she said, because I don't know who prescribed this. And I said, okay. So I went and got my blood taken. Right there. They did it there. They took it there. Mm-hmm. I left. And then she called me up and said, you have to, where are you right now? Yeah. And I went, I'm at work. I was waiting to do a podcast or something. Somebody showed up and she goes, okay, you need to go immediately. I'm calling a prescription to this blood, whatever. You need to go immediately. She goes, your body is producing too much hemoglobin. Mm-hmm. You have so much you might end up having a stroke. Yeah. And I'm like, I know, I'm just telling you what she said. Yeah, I know. But so she tells me all that. She tells me you got to go right now. And I said, okay. I said, listen, I'm not going right now. Yeah, I said, I feel fine. But that was also, my nose had been red. Yeah. So I told her my nose was red. I'm getting my cheeks are getting rosy. I said, something's that's not normal. Mm-hmm. And she was like, right. Took the blood, came back. She said, you need to go right now. I was like, okay, well, I'll go tomorrow. I'll go. So I went like 2-3 days later. So I went and I did it. Yeah,
it's part of the problem. They don't learn. Listen, the blood test in the context of testosterone.
Admittedly, she didn't know. Yeah. And so I went. I did that for like 3 or 4 months. Yeah. And then I changed providers. I go to the next lady, same kind of conversations. Yeah. She's terrified of me. And I go to her and I tell her I need to get a prescription for this. And she's like, I can give you a prescription. She's like, why? And then I explained it to her and she went, yeah, I don't know anything about TRT. Mm-hmm. She said, my suggestion is, she said, so I don't know, I can prescribe it, but you to get blood, but she said, but to give blood, she says, but I don't know if that sounds right. She's like, I'm not sure what they're doing. Mm-hmm. She said, you need to go back to your provider who did this. So I called you and you were like, no, you don't have to do that anymore. Yeah. You said, take the dose, split it in 2, take one on Monday, one on fucking Thursday or Friday, and it will go away. And if it doesn't, you said, break it into 3.
Break it into 3,
Right. And I was like, okay. So I went back and I told Jess, here is what Ryan said to do. And I did that. And within a week, the nose, no redness, no nothing, totally fine. And I was getting dizzy. Mm-hmm. I stopped getting dizzy. Yeah. So I'm assuming that was part of that.
It's symptoms of hypertension.
Okay. And all of that dropped down to nothing. And I never had any problems again. Yeah. But these people have me getting stuck every month, sucking out how much blood.
It makes the problem worse.
Right. And I knew, and I would do it, and then by the end of the month, it's happening again.
And it makes it worse. It makes it worse. Yeah. They don't understand what blood work should look like in the context of testosterone. It's different. Blood work is different. So the Endocrine Society actually did publish that your hematocrit can go up to 54% if you have no symptoms, and if you have no symptoms, if you're on TRT, then you don't need to do anything if you have no symptoms up until 54-ish%, right? And that's above the range. So any other provider, they see you 1% above that range and they go, you're going to have a stroke, you're going to have a heart attack, because that's what they learn.
Right.
If an old person who's not on testosterone, their hematocrit creeps up, it means they have what's called polycythemia, and all of their blood is thickening, including their clotting factors, and that could be dangerous. In the context of TRT, it's just red blood cells which carry oxygen. Oxygen repletes your body's ATP. ATP is your body's currency for energy. Oxygen equals energy. It's actually a good thing. Now, if it goes too high, it can cause symptoms of hypertension, but we can mitigate that just through slight manipulations in the protocol. And I'm an expert at that. I can do that like that. But your doctor just freaks out and makes you donate blood and just doesn't even know anything about what to do. So, but they're not taught it, right? Like all of this is just I mean, the ignorance. One of the shocking things when I came into the medical community, because of all the experience I had, was the ignorance of not understanding anything about testosterone, not understanding the pharmacokinetics of the different routes of administration, like what are the half-lives, how long does it last in your system, what's it actually doing, what are the metabolites. I was shocked by the lack of knowledge.
Well, it's just it's such a racket too. I had texted Bosiak. And I asked him, remember I told you beforehand that Bosiak he spent 3 days in the hospital. He had dengue fever. That sounds like some Cambodian shit. He spent 3 days in the hospital. They took just dozens of tests, gave him all the medication, everything. And when he left, he paid the bill in full. It was a whopping $165.
That's crazy. For
3 days, you couldn't spend 20 minutes in a fucking emergency room or a hospital here without it being thousands of dollars. And that was
crazy.
It. Yeah.
Didn't you say an MRI was like $12 or something?
Yeah, it's outrageous. Yeah, it is.
It's crazy.
It's so overwhelmingly inexpensive to buy and run an MRI machine. And they charge you between $1,200 to $1,800 here. And did you know that if you're if you go in and say, "Hey, I'm going to pay I'll pay cash," they go, "Oh, you're a cash okay, $1,200." But if you say I have insurance, they bill you like $2,200. Yeah. What the fuck does that? Yeah. What? Oh, we can't bill you less than that.
Yeah.
Why? Well, legally, we're not allowed. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
Legally,
that's why my insurance premiums are so
exactly. So it's insane.
Yeah.
It's the same thing the doctor's office. You go in and say, "Hey, look, I'm going to pay cash." They'll go, "Oh, okay, it's here,
$80 for
yeah,
you."
exactly.
It's $400.
It's $80. And you're like, "Oh no, I have insurance." They're like, "Okay, that'll be at $230."
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's crazy.
So it makes no sense at all. But I mean, it's a racket when for medication here you're paying $600 for a medication that in other countries you're paying $3 for.
Yeah.
$6.
Yeah.
Like, well, this shit's all coming out of the same fucking lab, right? Like, I mean, but we're and they even had that thing in Congress where they actually asked one of the manufacturers or of the one of the pharmaceutical companies, and they said, you sell the same medication in whatever country for $6, and here you're selling this medication for $800. Yeah. And he was like, well, yeah, that's to recoup the money for the investment that we put into. Well, why aren't you charging them? He's like, well, that's to recoup it because for Americans. Yeah. Well, why aren't you recouping it from the other people you're selling it to? They're like, well, it's just not the way it works here. Well, that's not how we set it up. We set it up so that the American public can pay us to recoup the money that we're investing. Because initially it was designed to help Americans with this problem. Yes, but you sell it
Yeah.
around the world.
Yeah.
So the truth is, and those people are actually paying cost, and we're paying. And even then, it's not 900 times.
Yeah.
You're not recouping.
Yeah,
You guys
yeah.
are trillion-dollar companies.
yeah.
So cut the shit.
Yeah.
It's a fucking lie.
Yeah.
So
To this point, continuing medical education, right? So providers are required to do continuing medical education. Pharmaceutical companies fund that. They pay $1 billion a year in continuing medical education to teach the providers how to prescribe the drugs that they sell.
Right.
And that's all they teach them. So you can see in medical schools now, like why testosterone is not taught and why the little information they do learn is antiquated notions and dogma from decades ago. Right. Let's also talk about the pharmaceutical companies. They know damn well if you want to suppress something because it overtakes one of your drugs that you're making a lot of money, all you have to do is get some kind of study written that shows that it can cause cancer or it's dangerous. It causes heart attacks or something. Right? You just get a study that does that.
Or there's also an additional. You can extend the what is it? They have like their patent is good for like 10 years or something, and at the end of 10 years they just do another study and say, hey, guess what? We also found out that it helps with this. Yeah, and that gives them another 10 years. Right?
Another 10 years.
Yeah, or
they can change the route of administration. So, for instance, right now, like all the rage is estrogen patches, and they're terrible. They don't work. But so here's another example, right? We get a lot of females coming to us who are on estrogen patches, and they're terrible. They don't absorb well. They don't get your levels high enough to a therapeutic range, and they're very fast acting, and it's not a good way to do it. The injections are 100% absorbed. They're esterified so we can stabilize your levels. They last a long time in your system, so we can stabilize your levels. It's much, much better. The patches are being used, A, because it's a newer route of administration. They can patent it. B, the continuing medical education shows this is the way to do it. So that's the way, if prescriber prescribes estrogen, that's how they do it. And it's just because your provider prescribes it doesn't mean it's the best way to do it. It's just what the pharmaceutical companies have been paying to teach them what to do, right? The studies, let's talk about the studies. So we don't have any proof that for these studies, we have proof of other studies that have been paid off. People have been paid off to write, misinformed studies. These ones, we don't have proof that the pharmaceutical company have paid them, but it just really looks that way. So there was a rash of very poorly run studies, errors. The Vision study of 2013 found that testosterone increases the risk of cardiovascular disease. This study was rife with so many errors it has been widely discredited, and the original authors have now retracted their statements. However, it had errors such as math formula errors, an error where they included 1,000 women's results in this male study. It was a study on men, and somehow 1,000 women were thrown in there, and math errors. As a scientist, this is the apex of your career, publishing a study. It's what they all look for. It's what gives them a name. You don't make a math error. You have third-party people who check these things. You don't make a math error on a study. It's just not something that happens. And it could be the end of your career if you do that. And again, you have third-party people. Go check all my math. Check my data. How do you get 1,000 women thrown into a male study?
All right.
People check that. It's so unprofessional it could be like career ending for that scientist. No scientist is going to do that. This study had all of that. And the FDA used it to put a black box warning on testosterone saying it could increase risk for cardiovascular disease. So again, the pharmaceutical company, we don't know for sure, but they could have paid to have this study just rigged with bad information. By the way, when they corrected the math error and took out the women, this same study, when they actually did the study right, it showed that testosterone reduced the risk of cardiovascular disease. But with all the misinformation they had in it, it shows that it increased. The FDA threw a black box warning on testosterone, which further stigmatizes it. Now, no doctor wants to prescribe it because I'm going to increase your risk for a heart attack if I give you testosterone. It's the opposite. It's exactly the opposite. Every single risk factor has now been debunked for testosterone, every single one. they thought it could cause prostate cancer. That was a joke. No study has ever showed that. All the studies show that there's no increase. In fact, testosterone suppresses some kinds of prostate cancer. Testosterone reduces the risk. Therapeutic doses of testosterone reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease. Blood clots. Again, testosterone, there's actually a function where testosterone reduces procoagulatory factors. It reduces thrombin, which is a coagulation factor. It increases antithrombin, which reduces coagulation. Platelets have androgen receptors that prevent them from aggregating, right? So it reduces clotting. It's a beautiful mechanism if you stand back. Remember, testosterone increases your red blood cells, right, to give you more oxygen. And it reduces your risk for clotting. So you can have testosterone, you can increase your red blood cells, so you get more oxygen. Oxygen equals energy, and we reduce your risk of clotting. It's a beautiful evolutionary mechanism, right? So you can have higher testosterone levels without clotting. No study has ever showed that it increases risk for clotting, right? But there was a few poorly run studies that potentially indicated that, so now everybody was scared about it, right? So this rash of studies that came out from about 1980 to 2015-ish were just biased and misinformed and terrible, right? So then let's talk about the legislation, the war on drugs. War on drugs is a psyop, right? They use fear, the principle of fear in two contexts. Political campaigns often run on fear. Make the people afraid of something, offer a solution to it, and they'll elect you. Right? Do you remember the war on drugs when George Bush in the 1980s came up with that bag of the white? And he held it up and he said, "This is destroying our country. It's destroying our inner cities." He had a bag of it. Made the people afraid of something. Oh my gosh, we're going to fix this with the war on drugs, right? Oh, he's got a solution. I'm going to elect him, right? It's a psyop, right? It turns out that before that, the federal prison system had, and then when they did the war on crime too, that's when fraud cases went through the roof. The war on crime, the war on drugs, the federal prison population in the beginning of the 1980s was 20,000. It shot up by 90s to 200,000. Yeah. In that period of time because of those two operations.
I was going to say the budget for the federal government for the military quadrupled also under Reagan because Reagan ran on stopping communism, and his big thing was that we need our military as powerful and strong. And I don't doubt that, but he said that before the Soviet Union starts landing on our beaches, and they pushed the entire time that the Soviet Union at some point had plans to invade North America. The Soviet Union moves their troops around the Soviet Union by rail. They don't even have interstates. Keep in mind, the Soviet Union is extremely poor. They do not even have, if the Soviet Union right now said we want to invade the United States, they don't even have the means to get themselves across the ocean. Like, you know what I'm saying? We have crafts that you can climb into boats and get across the ocean and land on beach. They have none of it. Same thing with China. China could not, if they wanted to invade America, they got no fucking way to do it. It'd take them 6 months to a year to create the landing crafts, to create the boats, to create everything just to get here. If they made that attempt, they have none of it. But you say it.
Make the people afraid of
Make them afraid, and you elect Reagan. I love Reagan, by the way. But that you're lying. You're creating this fear in order and saying, I can solve the problem. He can't. My opponent cannot solve the problem and isn't even telling you about it. And it's horrible and we need to fix it. The problem you're telling me you're going to save me from doesn't exist.
It doesn't even exist.
Right. And we're gonna by locking up all these criminals, we're gonna be tough on crime. We're gonna you spend a ton of money,
$100 billion a year on policing all the drugs.
Right.
We learned from Prohibition that
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Making it illegal doesn't.
It fueled the black market. More people died in the name of the control of alcohol during Prohibition than die in current cartels. Right. It was a decade of violence, and Prohibition just didn't work. When they repealed Prohibition, now alcohol, funds it, they can tax it. They don't have to spend all the money to control it. People aren't filling up prisons because of it. Now, we're about to see, I'm going to go over the death tolls for all the other drugs, right? Because if the steroids are so dangerous, right, they must have a high death toll, right? So let's go over, we're going to go over all the drugs. Now, alcohol is one of the highest, and nobody's freaking out about it, and nobody's saying, look at all the deaths we need to control.
Right.
Alcohol, it's all perspective. It's about how you it's about your perspective on it, right? And how it's engineered to be seen by the public, the lens that it's seen by the public, right? Now, the answer isn't to control alcohol. The answer is education. The answer isn't to control any drug. It's education. Teach people about it, but we can't make it a controlled substance because it causes more problems than it solves. There's another aspect to fear, right? Fear has two contexts, and make people afraid of something, offer a solution to it. The other context is, and this is what Chase Hughes, I don't know, he was a intelligence operative that now just teaches people about psychology and what they learned in their intelligence schools. Fear stands for, it's an acronym for focus, emotion, aggravation, repetition. That's how you execute a psyop. Right. So we're going to see those elements in what they've done. So one of them was, do you remember the Olympics cheating? Ben Johnson test positive for stanozol, a steroid, in the 1988 Olympics.
Yeah.
And everybody went nuts about cheating. He lost the medal. Everybody was talking about, the government was like, we need WADA to do more. WADA is the group that tests for professional sports in the Olympics. We can't have this cheating in sports. So there's one. It invoked people's agitation about this, right? And then, do you remember steroids in baseball?
Yeah.
Congress had hearings on anabolic steroids in baseball. What does Congress have to do
anything
with
to do
it?
with baseball? This is a private sport. This is not government.
That's exactly correct. They used a pathway from 1922 when it was the Supreme Court found that Congress could regulate baseball because there was they were paying off. They were buying results for games or whatever, right? And Congress didn't want, because it was international, they didn't want the games to be fixed. So they allowed Congress to regulate it from 1922. They came back in 1994, I think, is when this happened, and used that to be able to come in and have hearings on baseball. They have nothing to do with it, but they did use a pathway from 1922 to do that.
Right.
So they had hearings. Remember, they brought Sammy Sosa. Now, if you ask me, if you ask most people, I hate baseball. I think it's boring as hell.
Right.
I did watch when freaking Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire and who was the other? Barry Bonds. Yeah, Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds were just smacking home runs every time. It was exciting.
Right.
I watched during that. It was like, who's going to hit a home run today, and how many are they going to hit? It was like baseball hysteria had never been at a higher point, right? So then cheating, some of them test positive. Some of the guys come out and say, oh, there's steroids all over in baseball. Now everybody's talking about cheating. The government's talking about cheating. Repetition. This is the second time that sports and cheating has come up, right? Repetition, agitation, repetition. During this same time, they wanted to get emotion in there, right? They had to get emotion in there. So they brought up a father whose 16-year-old son committed suicide, and he said it was because he took anabolic steroids, right? He is dead set against it. He said, my kid committed suicide. Now, what they don't tell you is this kid had a history of depression, and he had attempted suicide multiple times before he ever took steroids. He had a history of trying to commit suicide. They said he took steroids. I don't even know what kind of proof they have. They said our kids are using steroids because these baseball players are using steroids. Emotion, right? Fear, focus, emotion. We're using all of the elements of a psyop. 1990 is the first time they passed the Steroid Control Act. Now, Congress put a bill up for the Steroid Control Act to make steroids, testosterone included, a Schedule III controlled substance. The DEA, the FDA, the American Medical Association, and I think it's called NIDA, about drug abuse, National Institute of Drug Abuse, all opposed making testosterone a Schedule III controlled substance. All of those government organizations. They said it doesn't quite meet their criteria. Here are the criteria for a Schedule III. It does not afford the psychological dependence that you require from these other drugs that are in the schedule, right? We recommend you do not do this. When does Congress not listen to professionals? They're always talking about, I want to hear from the experts. I want to hear from the experts. Well, the experts spoke, and Congress unanimously voted to make that a controlled substance after they got public opinion behind them from all those psyops and all the studies. So what did this do? It further stigmatized it. Now no doctor wants to prescribe this stuff because it's illegal. It's a controlled substance. And they made it, I think it was 2004, they did another steroid control, like where they controlled more precursors, more forms of it, and made it worse, right? Stigmatized it worse. Now no doctor wants to prescribe it. It's illegal. It's a bad drug. It just makes it worse. Nobody wants to use it. All the doctors are scared of it. Just makes it worse and worse, right? So if testosterone is so dangerous, it must be killing people left and right. Right? So let's compare it. National yearly death tolls for all the different drugs. The white stuff, 29,000 deaths per year. Opioids, actually surprisingly low, 72,000 per year. Alcohol, 178,000 deaths per year. One of the higher ones.
Yeah.
Tobacco, smoking, 480,000 deaths a year. Tobacco and alcohol are illegal. Right? And I'm not saying you should illegalize them, but just we don't have the same hysteria that we do about how bad they are for you. Right? Let's talk about sugar. Sugar leads to cardiovascular disease. It leads to insulin resistance, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, which leads to cardiovascular disease, the number one cause of death in the world. 920,000 deaths per year. Right. So
almost a million, right?
Almost a million per year. Over the last 60 years, mind you. Now, the death's been rising.
Yeah, you're talking, this is annual. Is that number's annually?
Annual.
Not, but you're saying it's been annual for the past.
For the past.
Whatever year, however many years.
Yeah, and it has been rising. So in 19, because what we're going to find is that the sugar industry did their thing in 1965.
Okay.
So it's been rising since then. Right? Steroids must be pretty bad up there, right? Because it's a controlled substance.
Right.
It's pretty dangerous. Let's look at a different one, though. Let's look at bud. How many deaths do you think, Colby, don't use your computer. How many deaths do you think are caused annually by bud?
None.
Yeah, I would say.
Can't imagine any, right? 10? What? I mean, how can you can't? I don't even know.
I will say 0.
Yeah.
0 is correct.
Yeah.
It is pharmacologically impossible for an herbicide for an herbal supplement to be able to cause a death. Right? There's never been a case where the coroner put death due to overdose of anabolic steroids. That's never happened. Right? There's a handful, just a handful, in the last 20 years of polypharmacy where people have been on different drugs, the white, the H.
Yeah, multiple things.
And
one of them
and
was
anabolic steroids, right? There's some that include that.
Yeah.
They did all these things and they died.
Yeah, and they had like a heart attack or something. But you were also fucking
they had all those things in their system. There's been like 12 of those in the last 20 years.
All right.
Right. The dangers are over dramatized, right? They say it's going to cause a heart attack. It's going to do all these things. I would be remiss if I didn't say that you don't increase the risk of having a heart attack, of sudden cardiac death, if you abuse testosterone, right? One of the problems is, or abuse steroids, one of the problems is that the society medical community doesn't make the distinction between therapeutic doses and abusive doses, right? Abusive doses will increase the risk. I'd be remiss. I'm not saying go ahead because of what this says, that there's only been a handful of, there's been no like clear cut, this is an anabolic steroid overdose. That's never been on anything. I would be remiss if I didn't say that it can exacerbate conditions to lead to a heart attack if abused. right?
But that's a massive amount of
It would
abuse. Right?
it would be a large amount of abuse. So, but there's other data that we have, right? And and therapeutic doses, study after study show that it reduces all-cause mortality. You are healthier and live longer if you take therapeutic doses of testosterone. That is unequivocal. It's in multiple studies, right? Abusive doses, people say, if you do this, you're going to have a heart attack. Like your provider, your hematocrit went up, you're going to have a stroke. You got to do this right now. Like you have to leave what you're doing. It's pretty ridiculous. There's a study that came out not too long ago that followed 20,000 bodybuilders. It's a huge study over an 18-year period. Or I'm sorry. I think it was actually like a 12-year period, 12 to 15-year period. And it followed bodybuilders, professional bodybuilders. And it took all the reasons for the death. The data was great. The analysis was very poor, but the data was great. So when you take amateur bodybuilders, these are people who abuse steroids. Amateur bodybuilders abuse steroids. And take their amount of cardiac deaths compared to the general population. They had about half the amount of heart attacks, of death from any kind of cardiovascular problem than the general population. These are people who abuse steroids.
Right.
When you look at all-cause mortality, death from anything, the amateur bodybuilders were 5 to 9 times lower chance of death from all-cause mortality than the general population of people at the same age, mind you, the same age group, mind you. It is profoundly protective, the bodybuilding lifestyle, including abusive doses of anabolic steroids. Now, they do other things that are healthy, diet, right? Like they lose fat, like they're doing other things, but anabolic steroids are dangerous, right? Like that should be toxic and it should be killing people. It's not. Professional bodybuilders, these are the people who have pro cards, who've been doing it for a long time, and they're the ones who get on, you see in Mr. Olympia, all those. Because they've been they've made it their career to do this professionally. This is what they do. They work out and do anabolic steroids. They do have a higher rate of deaths from cardiovascular issues than the general population. However, when you look at all-cause mortality, it's about the same. So I know people in the comments watching this are going to say, well, all these bodybuilders are dropping like flies. I get it every time I talk about this. They say something like this. That's not true. Again, I'm not saying that there's no increased risk. I would be remiss if I said that. What I will say is, because we have these studies that show that there is that for amateurs it's protective, for professional bodybuilders it's the all-cause mortality is about the same, even though the risk for cardiovascular events is higher. What I'm saying is that this is the people who make their life about using this. Yeah. All professional sports are riskier than the general population, right? When you commit, again, it's about the abusive doses versus the therapeutic doses. What I'm saying is that, and especially the college kid who's running a couple cycles a few times a year for a few years while he's in college, like they're not hurting themselves, right? The dangers of anabolic steroids are widely overblown. Again, I don't recommend, because I said that people go out and just go ahead and abuse these.
Right.
It will increase your risk of problems, but they're not nearly as dangerous as they're purported to be, and therapeutic doses are unequivocally protective. Right. So now let's talk about the sugar industry, one of the largest psyops and fraudulent psyops in history.
Right.
I'm going to explain how that happened. There's evidence for it too. First thing I want to do is explain how sugar is addictive. Remember I talked about dose response? Whenever you do something that helps yourself survive, or the survival of your species, you produce dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, right? You're supposed to be addicted to those. When you do something to help people or something to survive, you get dopamine, oxytocin, and you're supposed to be addicted to that. You're supposed to be addicted to doing the things that help your survival or the survival of your species, right? Drugs either mimic or they give you huge uptake of those neurotransmitters, and they hijack that system, right? So it's kind of like an evolutionary trick, right? So brown, when you take that, it directly mimics endorphins. Right. So you agonize that receptor, and your brain just goes, I want that thing again, do whatever action. And normally, if it's an action, like you help somebody survive, your brain goes, do that again, help people survive so that I get those neurotransmitters again.
Right.
If what you did was just take a drug. Your brain says, do that again, do that again,
Yeah.
do that again. And that's why drugs are addictive. You just take the drugs to get the neurotransmitters and your brain just goes in that cycle, right? One of the things that gives us these neurotransmitters is eating. Eating gives us a huge uptake of dopamine. When you eat, your brain says, do that again, eat again,
Yeah.
right? That's why you crave food, right? The more energy the food has in fats or sugars, the higher the dopamine response. In caveman time, we involved all our mechanisms back in caveman days. There was no purified sugars in caveman days, so it's not supposed to exist.
Right.
When we purify these sugars and you have sugars tons of energy very quickly and it spikes your glucose really high, you get tons of dopamine from that. So your brain just goes sugar, 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 and your brain goes, keep eating the sugar because I get dopamine from that. That's how it's addictive. It's the same exact mechanism as drugs, as brown and white and all those drinking.
Ice and everything
all
across
of
the
that.
board. Yeah.
Same exact mechanism, hijacks the same exact system, just as addictive, right? And for some people, it can be just as addictive. This is why obese people, they can't stop. They can't stop. People eat themselves to death, literally. When I worked in an emergency room, we saw obese people who have their family has to bring them. They're so big that they can't move, and they have bed sores, and they're only like 40 years old,
Right.
and they can't roll out of bed. They need somebody and they can't stop.
Right.
They literally eat themselves to death, just like you would overdose.
Right.
With understanding that, in 1965, executives within the Sugar Research Foundation, the lobbying arm of the sugar industry, recognized that emerging credible science was linking high sugar diets to the rapidly rising rates of coronary heart disease. To protect their massive profit margins, they covertly initiated a project to shift the blame entirely. They paid a trio of highly respected Harvard University nutrition professors, most notably Dr. Mark Hegstead and Dr. Robert McCandy, to produce a fraudulent cherry-pick literature review. In 1967, this bought and paid for review was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, arguably the most prestigious medical journal in the entire world. The paper intentionally downplayed the massive metabolic risks of sugar consumption and forcefully fingered saturated fat as the sole dietary cause of heart disease. Now, this is proof. You can look it up. This is known data, right?
Right.
This is fraud on a massive scale. But watch what happens because of this. Now, do you remember the 1980s when they were fingering fats for everything, right? And everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, it's fats that are causing all these problems." Then cholesterol. Remember when people wouldn't eat eggs?
Right.
Because of the cholesterol. And if they did eat eggs, it was egg whites, right? You take the yolks out because
I
the
ate egg
cholesterol
whites
is
for
bad.
forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
It's because
and it turns out that
it turns
it's not
out
a problem at all.
it's because they fingered the fats and the cholesterol.
Right.
And so now
Hold on, I need some sugar.
So because of the New England Journal of Medicine, nutrition regulation began requiring food companies to remove fat from food. To maintain palatability, the food industry replaced the fat with colossal amounts of processed sugar. Simultaneously, the food industry leveraged clinical science to design hyper-palatable foods, products chemically engineered in laboratories with precise ratios of sugar, salt, and artificial flavors designed specifically to hijack the brain's dopamine reward system, triggering intense behavioral addiction in the population. The resulting death toll from this dietary shift was apocalyptic. Excess sugar consumption is the primary driver of obesity, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, and cardiovascular disease. Cardiovascular disease now causes almost 1 million deaths per year in the United States alone. Worldwide, it's a lot higher. The sugar lobby's intentional manipulation of science has undoubtedly caused hundreds of millions of premature deaths worldwide over the last 60 years, probably billions worldwide. You want to talk about one of the biggest psyops of all time, one of the biggest death toll of anything all time.
Sugar.
And
The
known,
sugar
it
people.
was a fraudulent, intentional, misinformation.
What do you think we should do? You think
Well,
get a
okay.
posse together and go
Yeah, I have, and then
string these fuckers up?
this will
Let's
be
do it.
the end of it. What was the government's response to this fraudulent massacre? They co-signed it. They facilitated it. They were complicit. The United States government does not restrict sugar. It celebrates it. Sugar is advertised in every corner, in every store, and aggressively marketed directly to children in schools using sophisticated neuromarketing and viral buzz campaigns. Christina's niece over here, I go to her basketball games and school events. Mm-hmm. It's all candy, all chocolate bars and candy. Like, this is what we're teaching our kids to go ahead and there's nothing healthy there. It's all chocolate bars and candy and sugar. It's crazy.
You're very upset about that.
I am. More damningly, the federal government actively facilitates this systemic poisoning by spending $4 billion annually to subsidize domestic sugar, corn, and soy production, keeping these highly toxic ingredients artificially cheap and ubiquitous. The government subsidizes sugar. They make it cheap so that it can be used everywhere.
To look up ubiquitous.
It's everywhere.
Everywhere.
It exists everywhere at once. Political action committees for major fast food and beverage chains routinely pour millions of dollars into congressional campaigns to ensure that taxes, warnings, or regulations on their lethal products are never passed. No one is protesting the stores that are selling the sugars causing all this death and carnage. No corporate executives, no one who paid for that fraudulent study, none of the scientists who caused millions upon millions of cardiovascular disease deaths in the U.S. have or will go to prison. Yet they put me in prison for selling fucking testosterone, right? Testosterone is one of the best treatments to reverse all of the damage caused by sugar.
You're holding resentment. That's what they'd say in RDAP. You know that, right? Those fuckers. Say, let's go.
You want to talk about a psyop? One of the biggest of all times? I think recapping is important too. I'll do a brief recap and I'm done. All
okay.
Right, so the recap. The government failed to keep endocrine disrupting.
This is a crime program. This is a crime program, right? Like,
yeah. This is a crime.
Congress doesn't think so. They're signing up. They're signing. They're
reporting a crime right now. The government failed to keep endocrine disrupting chemicals out of our environment. They're in everything. The endocrine disruptors. Proven studies show that it's in. There's the phthalates, the BPAs, the plastics, the herbicides, the pesticides are ruining our testosterone, our endocrine systems, male and females. There's studies that show men in 1970s have twice the testosterone that we have now. We have half the testosterone levels that we did in 1970. Endocrine disruptors and environmental toxins. The government has failed to protect us from those. Other countries actually protect their citizens. They allow less of the chemicals that we do in the United States. Right? They have failed to protect us from the endocrine disruptors that are lowering our testosterone, making us more susceptible to cardiovascular disease from sugars. Then the government failed to protect us from sugar, causing the #1 cause of death in the world. They co-signed it. The government, likely at the behest of drug companies, controlled, overregulated, became gatekeepers and suppressed testosterone, one of the most beneficial medications in the history of medications, one of the best treatments to reverse the damage caused by sugar, one of the best treatments to significantly reduce the risk of the #1 cause of death in the world. It was a perfect storm, all preventable, and they put me in fucking prison for selling testosterone. I'm dropping the mic.
I can't.
Dropping the mic.
I can't. I fail. I mean, I refuse to believe that the government would do anything underhanded. Yeah. So I'm gonna break something to you that I don't think anybody has probably said, but they're not getting rid of sugar. They're not going to do it.
Yeah.
They're not doing it.
I know, because they make too much money off of it.
I'm telling you, and it's delicious.
Yeah,
but that didn't hurt.
But, and just like any other drug, I don't know that I agree with controlling it, right? But like just education is key, right? Tell people
they could cut
people
it's
addictive.
They could cut the prison population by 80% and the budget by 80%, and they could dump half of that into education and half of it into drug rehabs, and we would not have a drug problem at all in the United States. And we'd have extremely educated citizens. They don't want educated citizens. Yeah. Do you understand? They don't want that. That's not how the system's set up. You know, first of all, you don't want an educated citizenry because they want to. It's more difficult to get elected. It's you know, you want. First of all, and they're not workers. You really want to educate people just enough to be workers. You want them to work at Walmart. It's not a lot. You don't want a bright Walmart population, you know, or employees, because they're gonna be upset. You know, like, how much am I getting paid? Like, this is starting to not work. Not feel right to me. What's with all these sugars? Yeah. So
I did a podcast with a psychotherapist who said that if he was trying to be the supreme ruler over a country and the supreme authority, one of the first things he would do is do what he could to lower people's testosterone, because testosterone makes you more of the alpha male type. You're going to fight. You're going to ask questions. You're going to be motivated to make things change and make things better.
But I don't think that they thought that back in the 1950s and 60s. But I just think it's just naturally happening.
I'm not a
as a result of this.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe all these things, and they did all this on purpose.
Yeah.
What I do believe,
they're not changing it.
They did on purpose. What I do believe they did on purpose was that it's obvious the sugar industry did that for money. I don't think they knew that it would cause that many cardiovascular disease deaths.
Right.
But
that's the result, and they're not correcting it. Because now it's an industry.
Right. And I do believe that there was some incentive to write bad studies and to demonize testosterone through regulation and laws.
Yeah. Well,
because,
I don't doubt that.
But and those two things though coalesced and created this exponential problem. Like you said, they're not going to get rid of sugar. I agree. I don't even necessarily think that. I don't agree with eradicating things. But at least freaking have the education and the treatments available to mitigate the damage. Testosterone, a lot of these peptides help do that too. And they're suppressing all of it. And I'm offering the solution. And I go to prison.
I hear you. What we need to do is get people to go to your business and sign up.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
That's correct.
Let's do that.
I will take care of you. Come to my business. I will make you look and feel your best and dramatically improve your quality of life. I've done it for 25,000 people now. Matthew Cox included.
That is true. What's the name of the business?
GoH4M.com is a website where
do you have T-shirts? What? That's crazy.
I'm gonna get you one.
You should have given me one beforehand. I could have worn it, although I get cold. But it's going good.
It is. It's going well. And most of it is about educating people because, again, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask you and Colby. And I'll even ask Christina and Ava out there. What when you think of testosterone, what comes to your head? Like before you knew me, because you know a lot more, and maybe you listen to this podcast. But Colby, what did you think when you thought of testosterone?
I mean, I just think of somebody that's like they look like they're on steroids in the gym.
Right.
I think 1978 Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. When you hear the word testosterone. And so that was engineered. Like it was engineered that you think that about testosterone. Testosterone does build muscle, but building muscle is one of the healthiest things. And the look that you're describing, Colby, is only if you do abusive doses. Therapeutic doses won't get you that big. It will increase your muscle mass aesthetically a little bit, enough to reduce insulin resistance, reverse diabetes, improve your sense of well-being so you don't need to be on depression medications.
Well, I mean, if abusing it is going to make me live to be 70-something years old and look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, sign me up. Because he's still walking around. Like all these fucking old bodybuilders are still
Sylvester
walking around.
Stallone
Oh, yeah.
looked better. Did you see his 2008 Rambo? The 2008 one? What was it? I forget what it was called. The 2008 one.
Right.
He looked better. He was 65 years old in that one. He looked better in that one than he did on his first Rambo when he was in his 20s.
How old is he now?
In his late 70s.
Yeah, because he's still doing
great.
He's still doing fucking
He does
series.
Tulsa King.
Yeah, he's doing Tulsa
He looks
King.
fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Also, if you would like to have a discussion with Ryan or watch his YouTube channel, we're going to put both of those links in the description box. So you can go there. You can get a consultation with him. You can watch his videos on YouTube. And my suggestion is that you go that if you're going to get on TRT or you even think it's something that you want to look into, you go. That's where you go, because that's where I go, and it's great, and you get great consultations. It's a great site, and I feel great. I really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much. See ya.